Let me know when we're live. Well, I'm watching as well. I need to mute my stream as soon as it goes live here. Here we go. Okay, muted.
I've got a plane in the background from somebody.
I hope it's not some feedback. Here we go, everybody.
CoCoTALK is an unscripted live broadcast. Anything can and will happen. The views and opinions expressed by members of the panel and the live audience are their own and not necessarily those of the CoCoTALK show, its sponsors, affiliates, or subsidiaries. Open minds encouraged, sense of humor recommended. If any off-color comments were made, we're sorry.
Hi, this is Dale Lear, designer of TRS 80 Color Baseball, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
Where on Facebook should show up?
It's on CoCoTALK channel. I already have the link here. And we are live streaming on Facebook.
This is CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy color computer. It's time to drop your socks and grab your real-time clocks, and let's rock.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
Did you see that Ben Drake's just posted?
Yeah,
just added it.
It was literally like 2 minutes ago.
Good morning, everybody. Coming at you live from sunny Arizona, WNBC. Getting some feedback from somebody on the panel. So I've been creatively muting. So if you could check your microphones. It's a little bit of feedback there. But anyway, I will keep going. Why make this a professional show now? Arizona is a land where we don't care about stinking daylight savings time.
Smart place.
That's right. It's a fun place. We do what we want, and as long as it means hiding inside from the sun.
Hopefully the rest of North America will follow next year from rumors I'm hearing.
Yeah, we don't observe it here either, but it's already had a skiff of snow here last night, so not quite the same temperature.
Well, you'll have to tell me someday offline, Curtis, what snow is. So we'll figure that out together. Well, we've got a panel of luminaries today. I think since we're in Arizona and streaming from Arizona, I think we should start with a man who is legendary and is frequently referred to as the Timberman. And throughout the show, we're going to be talking a little bit about the inside jokes and comments and nicknames that we've given to various folks in the community. One of those is Timberman, and maybe Ron can explain how that got started and why it is that I can see you from my window, Ron. We gotta talk about these issues. How are you doing? You're on mute.
Okay. Well, Timberman is a actual game, and a little character in there has a beard, and hey, I fit it perfectly. And you know what? In Arizona, we have to have water all the time because right now on my little clock, it says our humidity is at 11, and we live in a desert.
That's right.
And for a Timberman, you could understand that if you don't have water, soon you don't have sanity, which we all share here. Sanity.
Absolutely.
To one degree or another.
Well, sand anyway, right?
Now, Ron, I've heard one of the hottest Halloween costumes this year will be the Ron Delvaux/Timberman Beard.
Yes, if you get a chance to go to Ron's Garage on the Facebook, I have Steve Stroh's little excerpt from our couple of shows back where he had the Ron Delvaux beard that you could accessorize yourself with and then join the show and fit right in.
So be the envy of your neighborhood.
Yes, it is, and we're looking to have a female join us soon, and maybe she could actually don the beard and join us and enjoy. Wouldn't that be great?
That'd be amazing.
That would be. We're going to have a great show today. Hope you guys tune in. Stay tuned in for the 7 hours of fun that we have.
And also, Timberman is a character and a game created by Paul Thayer with some members of the community, and that's a game that's a clone, been on a lot of popular systems. So check it out from Paul Thayer. I believe it's either free for the digital version or $5 if you want the PDF of the instruction manual. So if somebody wants to, maybe Mark O can post the link on how to get in touch with Paul Thayer for that, since we're talking about Timberman.
You can also get a little SD card with it too, which is really slick.
Yep.
I have one right here.
Oh, very cool. I didn't know that.
There you go.
Oh, I bought mine digitally, which that's digital.
See, you went cheap.
Oh, man.
I got the SD card version at Coco Fest, so we'll have to get Nick Marotta someday over to Coco Fest, maybe for the 40th anniversary. Somebody will kidnap Nick Marotta and take him to the show.
Hey, that's the way to get there. I'd go. I'd be a willing victim.
A man who has never
as long
been...
as my kidneys are still intact when I wake up.
Well, you've got two. So,
oh, that's true.
Yeah, that's true.
Except for my sister has 3. She was born with 3. Yep, 3. Count them.
Really? Seriously?
Yeah, really.
Wow. Okay.
A man who has never been accused of kidnapping, our resident technical consultant and occasional streaming host, Mark B. How are you?
Hi. Pretty good.
Great. Anything, any quick updates that we should loop back to you on?
No, not for me. Just trying to get through another week. But you know, this is the last show before Halloween. We should have wore our costumes.
Yeah, that is true. Well, maybe we
Speak
can
for
have
yourself.
See, the joke would be, I thought you guys already were.
I've got mine on.
Exactly.
Yeah, pretty horrific, isn't it?
Nick's on fire tonight. Or this morning, or whatever we want to call it.
So, yeah, YouTube was a little fuzzy to begin with, but it's getting better now.
Yeah, it's going in and out, and could be something to do with my connection over here in Arizona. But I do see it's sharp now, and I did see it was fuzzy about 2 minutes
at the
ago.
beginning. Yeah.
But fuzzy makes us look so much younger.
It certainly does.
We call it soft focus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it saves
is a
me the
retro.
trouble of having to smear Vaseline on this camera up here.
This is a retro show too, so
That's right.
fuzzy is not unheard of.
Occasionally, we like to pay attention to those other communities that have that inferior 6502 chip, and when we need that information, we go to our resident 6502 expert, Mark D. Overholzer. How are you, Mark?
Thank you. I'm glad to be here today. And Ron reminded me about the Armatron, so I have mine perched on top of my Apple II.
Ooh, there it is.
Mobile
look at
Robotron.
that. Oh, there we go.
Had that thing for 30 some years now.
Is it still fully functional?
Not fully functional. It does go forward and backward. It doesn't like to turn though. So.
Oh.
I wonder
I
if
think I
the
saw a
gears,
video on somebody who fixed one of those.
I wonder if the gears that break in that thing all the time, if someone could 3D print those.
I don't think it's broken actually. I think it's the controller, the wired controller. I think the buttons or something are not working quite right.
Okay, well, we might hear more from you on...
Maybe it was 8-Bit guy who fixed one. I know I saw a YouTube video on some.
We might hear more from Mark in a bit on some 6502 news. And moving to our right, we have frequently said the words Nick Marotta so many times I sometimes wake up in the middle of the night with a cold sweat. I don't know what that means, Nick, but I know you like hearing your name, so we're going to say it again. Nick Marotta is on the panel.
Yes, I'm forever the egotistical, likes to hear his own name guy.
And that's how it got started, right? I believe about a year ago you were on the chat, and Stevie started saying your name, and you said something like you liked hearing your name being spoken by the panel, and that was all Stevie Stroh needs to make it into a meme.
So enough about me. What do you think about me? A teeny tiny update. I wrote a little program running behind me just to wet my chops on BASIC again. So I did the classic Mystify Windows screensaver like thingy.
Soon to be on sale.
Yeah, it'll be on $59.95 at all fine retailers near you.
All right.
I don't have any fine retailers near
So I
me.
want to get back into programming again. So I've been sort of fooling around and just kind of like I did back in the day.
That's about $1 per line, isn't it?
On the cover of your program, will it say Nick Marotta, Nick Marotta, Nick Marotta?
Of course, that's the name of my company actually.
Oh, okay.
No, we'll just call it Nick Marotta Cubed for short.
Say it thrice.
My stock symbol will be NMX3.
All right, well, the man that puts professional in a professional show, we've got professional musician David O'Connor from Down Under. David, you're really visually representing that it's not easy to be green, is it?
You should nickname him. I might take on the nickname Kermit or something like that, maybe. Kermit the Coco.
Got something on your nose there, David.
Yeah,
it's a bit.
There it is.
It's a bit of green coconess.
You know, he really is green, though. He's coming to us via solar.
That's right. That's right.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
That is very
true.
true.
Everything's running on. Things are running on batteries at the moment.
Not only that, but he's from tomorrow.
Yes, that's right. David, since you are in the future, do you have any news that we should look back to you on?
Any news? Well, I was going to be demonstrating a new game that Stevie Stroh has been playing around with the Coco VGA characters with, but he hasn't sent me a copy yet, so I'm guessing he ran out of time. So
okay.
That's one of the reasons I've got the Coco display on the background there. But we'll see if he sends it to me during the show. Maybe he's been tied up. So.
Okay. Yeah, we might need your help on the Coco VGA. The brand new game for the Coco VGA has come out. Brian the Music Man, speaking of musicians, how are you doing?
The voice from the pit. Is my voice real deep again?
Yeah, you really should see a doctor about that.
He's a member of the Sith.
Is that any better?
Oh, much better.
the Sith have gone home.
Yes. Anything you want to point out, Brian, or any updates we should come back to you later in the show?
No real updates in that. Last time I was on, I had just reconfigured my rack a little bit of equipment. I'm going to make sure that.
Thanks for clarifying.
It's a family show.
Exactly. And that just got things a little bit reconfigured so that it's a little bit more logical and less wall warts to power all of my units and all that. So,
were you having trouble with the power going down as you turn things on, or?
I had in the past, but it just made things a lot easier just to have everything in the rack, and found out that my preamp is just the right size where I could put those some plates on the side and mount it into the rack also, so that everything's together. So everything else is just pretty much par usual.
What preamp are you running there, Brian?
It's an older B&K Components. It's a PT3 series too.
Oh, cool.
Okay,
I picked that up at the Goodwill for $3 when it was
you can't complain about that.
No. It was $3, and I researched it brand new. It was like almost $600 US.
Yeah. Wow. Nice.
All right. Well, we have a special guest coming up on our next introduction, but before I get to that, I just want to cover what's in the chat. We're saying hello to Peter Willard, who responded to my test message. Terry Steen says, Roger, Roger. Not sure if he plays Star Wars Battlefront, Terry. Mark Overholzer says hello. Peter Willard, Nick Marotta. Al Hartman's is seeing fuzzy, and we're not sure if it's the drugs or my streaming quality. We'll find out. Just kidding, Al. Tim Franklin, Nick Marotta. Tim Franklin says you can fix the blue screen of death by changing palette number 10.
Make it a green screen of death.
And Al Hartman, Nick Marotta, Retro Innovations reminding us that today's the B team for CoCoTALK, and certainly that's an upgrade from our usual team.
Yay.
So thank you to Jim Brain at Retro Innovations. Tim Franklin, Retro Innovation says the fuzzy video matches the intelligence level on the show. Thank you again.
No comment.
Have great troll.
Boy, when I think of fuzzy video, I think of a Commodore 64, Jim. So I don't know. Curtis Boyle says hello. Terry Steam and Matchy is in the live chat. And I'm going to test out my sound effects here. Uh-oh. And it's... There we go. Coming up next, a man who knows a little who definitely knows how to spell OS 9. He can even spell Basic 09. He created a game, an amazing game called Gem Quest. He has, to my knowledge, not been on the panel of CoCoTALK. We've got Floyd Resler.
Hi.
Hey, Floyd.
Hey.
Thanks for having me on.
You were awful loud.
Oh.
I was Rob that was
Not you.
awful loud.
Oh,
Rob, yeah. It was almost undecipherable.
Oh, okay. Well, that's usually how I'm.
But we're driven like crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, maybe I'll tone that down next time.
All right. Now, what's his name again?
Floyd Resler.
That was an awesome introduction.
Thank you, Floyd, and thank you for creating Gem Quest, which is a great
Oh,
game.
thank you.
I know we've got
And
some...
Mine Rescue and a bunch of others too. A lot of OS 9 games from back in the day.
Thanks.
Yeah, and what we usually do is keep moving on the panel here, Floyd. How is your schedule so we can kind of get more into your background and what you're doing today? Do you have to go anytime soon?
I'm here till you guys are done at 4. That was the time frame I was given, so that's what I blocked out for.
Okay, good. So we will.
Cool.
We'll definitely come back and talk a little bit about what you've been up to and where you've been over, your history in the community.
All right.
All right.
I got one quick question for you to move on. Can anyone guess who my favorite football team is?
The Packers. No, I'm just kidding.
Look at the big helmet behind me.
That's the Colts, isn't it?
The horsies.
Yes. The Cowboys.
No, that'd be a star.
And the horseshoe is up so that the luck doesn't run out.
Yes.
However, Floyd, they should have told you 4-ish.
How are they doing?
Oh,
Yeah. And we
We'll
probably didn't
we'll
mention what time
accommodate the
zone
guests.
either. So
Since I don't follow them, how are they doing?
Oh, they're 4-2 right now.
Oh, okay.
Number 1 in the AFC South.
All right. Well, we'll experiment a little bit with this drum roll from a different position. That's still pretty loud. There's a man. He lives in Canada.
talking about you, Nick.
I've already gone.
This man has cured Stevie Strobridge of insomnia by talking about OS 9. Puts him right to sleep. The L does not stand for loquaciousness, but he'll talk about OS 9 if you ask him. The creator and developer of Ease of Use Edition. A man. I'm out, Curtis. That's all I could think of.
Sorry.
How you doing?
I prefer to think if it was Stevie Stroh have induced a coma as opposed to cured insomnia.
That's right. A man who created Ease of Use Edition primarily for one Australian game developer that shall not be named.
Until right now.
How are you, Curtis? And yeah, you've got a lot of news today, is what I understand.
Yeah, I actually just updated the news here just because we had some last minute, stuff that just ticked in literally after the show started and just as the show was starting. So there's a few bits and pieces in there, yeah.
Okay, well, we'll definitely come back to the news. I think we're going to loop around and talk to Floyd and talk to Chet and then get to news. Simon Jonason is here, the man who wowed us at Coco Fest with his 128K disc-based amazing demo, and has continued to push the Color Computer 3 hardware to its limits. Currently creating with Paul Thayer a game called Run Dino Run. Ladies and gentlemen, Simon Jonason. How are you, Simon?
Yeah, I'm good, but Run Dino Run was Paul Fiscarelli.
Thank you. I get my Pauls confused. It's all, yeah. They're all the same person to me.
Yeah, we should just hint that one of them should change their name to make it easier. So I'm just kidding.
Paul Fiscarelli, if you're out there, apologize. Run Dino Run. Paul Fiscarelli with a little bit of help from Simon.
Now, as a bit of a teaser, I will say Simon is working with Paul on another game that we saw at the Fest, if you were by their booth.
That's right.
Last year. And I won't mention too much more because I don't know how much, if that is public at this point.
No, you can probably show it if you can find it.
Simon graced us with his presence at Coco Fest this year too, which I was glad.
No. You graced me with sending me that.
Yeah, we even actually gave you a return ticket, which we almost didn't do to Nick Marantes. So.
Yes.
Oh, I love you too, Curtis.
I just wanted to keep you here to help us all do this programming stuff here. We didn't want to have to.
I was going to say, that would have told Nick Marantes you want him to stay here, and that's the wrong message.
And since we're talking about and I'm going to move to somebody else who has three names, but since we're talking about in-jokes and references in the community, would you like to remind us, Curtis, what does the L stand for?
Lorne.
Lorne.
Yeah.
Lorne?
You betcha.
I didn't even know that.
All right.
Kind of
Hey,
like
Lorne
Shirley.
Go. You learn something new
Same
on
as my
CoCoTALK
dad's
every day.
first name, and a lot of the government stuff here, like your driver's license stuff, has screwed up us before because there was two Lauren Boyles, both in the same city, so they give each other licenses of the wrong address and stuff. They kept screwing it up, so I just started going by L. Curtis instead. Solved the problem.
Yes, well, I go by my middle name as well, and many others do. I just don't have a cool first initial, so it wouldn't sound right. But a man who does have a cool first initial, a gentleman who created a game called Forest of Doom that took approximately 35 years to release. His next game will be released in 2078. The man, the musician, the singer, a person who once created a cover of a elevator-based song, D. Curtis Boyle. I mean D. D. Bruce Moore. How are you, Bruce?
That's Lorne Bruce Moore.
Yeah, no. It's David is the first name. Yes, David.
And it is David.
I'm good. It is David. Yeah.
Yeah, we need more Davids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, not enough Davids in here. I agree.
so just call me Bruce. Just call me Bruce then, okay?
That sounds like a movie title.
Bruce was the name of my imaginary friend when I was a kid.
No, that was me.
And
you got me in a lot of trouble, man.
You know it.
There was a group in
It's
Canada.
on fire. Yeah.
There's a group of comedians in Canada called Kids in the Hall. They had a song called "These Are the Daves I Know." So I think I've almost got enough to cover that song.
And Bruce, I know you had a tight schedule today, or you weren't sure if you're going to be on. So how are you doing with time?
We'll see.
You're okay
I
at the
don't have
moment?
anything. Yeah, I'm okay at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. wanted to introduce our next guest, a game developer who told us about is certainly been busy and very prolific lately. A man who proves that a sequel can be even better than the original. A creator of one of the best game levels ever in the history of the color computer, called Not the Batcave. The writer, developer, creator of Digger 3, Chet Simpson. How are you, Chet?
Good morning, everybody. I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing well.
Good.
Awesome, awesome.
Good
Glad
to see
to
you,
be
man.
here.
Great. Well, I know we're gonna have an update from you and perhaps some information on new levels, right, for Digger 3, and you've got some visuals to show us today.
Yeah, I've got some of the stuff that I've been working on over the last couple of weeks finally ready to show off. So it'll be some good updates.
Okay, so we might use that for the Game On segment, a very popular segment on the show. And speaking of Game On, a man who has created many games for the color computer, a person who complained so loudly and consistently about OS 9 that we've got to create an entire new edition. From Down Under, Nick Marentes. How are you, Nick?
Nick's muted. He's muted.
Oh, it's actually a dream come true. Finally, somebody shut up Nick Marentes.
Hey everyone, here I am.
Sounds better that way.
Yeah, I didn't want to my snoring to interrupt.
I can hear it all the way down here in South Australia.
A secret thing too is that EOU actually stands for ease of under for down under. So,
Nick, will you have updates today? I know we want to talk to Floyd and we want to talk to Chet about their game development. Do you have any Gunstar or other things that we should make sure to come back to you on?
I've got a fair bit done with Gunstar, but probably not to the point where I'm ready to announce anything. So, go with Chet and Floyd today.
Okay. Well, we'll look back. Perhaps feel free to chime in at any time. What I'd like to do is, Curtis, if it's okay with you, you have a history with the OS 9 development, GemQuest. You're familiar with Floyd's catalog of work. Maybe we can start a little bit with kind of Floyd and kind of a little bit about your life story, kind of how you got into the color computer, Floyd, and then Curtis, if you can chime in with perhaps some more intelligent questions than I would have, that would be appreciated.
Sure.
But Floyd, what is your history? I know you from GemQuest. You've made other games. Where did you begin with the color computer, and how did you get into OS 9 and the color computer 3? I assume you started, like most of us, with color computer 1 or 2.
I started with the 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all because of a tape drive. Yeah, that's because my choice was the Commodore 64 or the Tandy Color Computer 2, and the Tandy Color Computer could use any tape player to record on, and the Commodore required their own special one. So,
and you could also load a game in less than a decade, so that was kind of handy too.
That was the deciding factor. And when I saw my very first game, which was actually on an Apple II maybe, I thought, I want to learn how to do that. I want to learn how to program. And so when I booted up my Tandy Color Computer 2 and there was BASIC right there, right in front of me, I knew I had the machine for me. And so I started writing stuff. And with as far as OS 9, I avoided it for a while. And then eventually, I'm not sure what drew me into it. It's like I just decided to try it. And then once I tried it, the only thing I used the BASIC for was to boot up OS 9 and to play some
Coco
games.
2 was level 1?
Yeah, did you fill it with
level
level
1?
No,
I didn't go into OS 9 until I got my Coco 3.
So then you were level 2.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you probably started when you had 512K, just because 120K is a little bit painful.
I had 10 meg. What are you talking about?
No, I mean on the RAM.
I know, I was joking. yeah.
Well, nowadays we've had actually gone past 10 meg already on some
Really?
cases. So,
Oh, wow.
Yes. Bob Barton's had it up to 64 meg, I think.
Wow, that's impressive. I used to run a BBS in the 512K under OS9 level 2.
Ribs?
No, actually, it was one I created.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was called the Realm Adventure System. It was a whole adventure text game that was a BBS.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
But I don't think I ever logged into that one.
It was part-time. I couldn't afford a dedicated phone line.
Now,
That was back when I was poor.
in your OS9 programming, like I know you've done multiple games. You did Gem Quest, Dungeon Depths, Mine Rescue. I'm probably forgetting some other ones. Most of those were written in Basic 9, is that correct?
Yes, they all were. Yeah.
Did you ever dabble with doing assembly or C stuff as well, or
No,
was it
I
just
left
Basic 9
it-
easier to use, or what?
I left the assembly up to my friend Steve, who wrote a nice little module for me that allowed me to do the overlays, so I could put a character on top of something else and let the background show through. So he wrote a assembly language module for me to handle that.
And that's Steve. What's his last name?
Crump.
Okay.
And we have actually attended. It's been several years ago. We attended the Coco Fest, and we gave to the club all of our old Coco equipment, software, hardware, for the auction that year.
And now you're trying to get it all back?
Yes, I want it back. Give it back to me. I need it now.
Now, are you controlling using the Coco to control the train set back there?
Oh, no, not a bad idea. I thought using a Raspberry Pi to do it, but that'd be kind of cool to use a Coco for that. Who wants to give me one?
Where are you?
Mason, Ohio.
Oh.
Home of
So
Kings
out of
Island.
curiosity, how did you get back into, like you said, you sold all your stuff off, so I'm assuming you were kind of leaving the Coco world behind at that point.
Yeah.
How did you get involved back with the community again?
Curtis.
It was just me when I sent you that message on Facebook.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long ago?
When
Just a
was
few
that?
months,
That
I
was-
think. Wasn't
Yeah.
it? Summer.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I got that message and said, "Are you the Floyd Resler who used to write games for Coco 3 and OS9?" I said, "Yep, indeed I am. I'm that person."
Do you have?
Yeah, because I remember
emulators?
downloading them from CompuServe back in the day when I was
Oh, yeah.
still active on CompuServe too. So.
One of my games actually wound up in CompuServe magazine.
Oh, I
It
didn't know
was,
that. Which one?
It was the Dungeon Depths. It was the RS-DOS version though, but it was Dungeon Depths.
Oh,
They
cool.
didn't mention me, but there was a little tiny article about it, which was kind of cool. Wish I would have kept it.
Yeah, I have some of my CompuServe magazines, but I probably don't have too many of them, so I got rid of a lot of them. So Basic 9, what was your impressions on that when you first started with it? Did you use like the GFX2 module? Like I know there's one that came with OS9 that has a lot of the basic stuff, but I know Kevin Darling had released an updated version, which
I
added
used
support for
GFX2.
multi-view and everything else too.
Yeah.
Did you use the more advanced version that was released, or?
I don't remember. I know I used GFX2. I actually wrote my own too. I wrote GFX5 that I called it, and it had a menuing system. And I went to a computer show in Atlanta one year, and went up to this one machine. And I saw it actually running on the machine, and I said, "That looks kind of familiar." And the guy said, "Oh yeah, it's GFX5 written by Floyd Resler." I said, "Oh, that's me."
Yeah, but there's a few extensions back in the day. So I remember seeing JFX5. I think you and Sean Driscoll probably did the most of the add-on GFX. He did his whole GUI library thing too. So we had several standards coming around then.
Did you save any of your floppies?
No.
No, that was my
It's
first
sad.
question for him too, Ron. Now,
Yeah.
now to get more into
Although
modern times, you've been.
I'm
Go ahead.
sure that someone has some. They probably wound up in what we donated that got auctioned off a few years ago. So someone may actually have them.
Actually, if Brian Schubring's still on the call, do you guys have a record of who bought the stuff at the auction? Because I wouldn't mind tracking that down to see if we can try to get some of the old source back rather than having to decompile it all. I don't know if he's still on or not.
The decompiler did pretty good. It was just the variable names, of course, are meaningless.
I was muted. Sorry.
Anyway, Brian, do you guys have records of who would have got that stuff at the auction?
Gator might. Tony probably would also. I don't recall. What year was this? That was what, about 3 years ago?
Oh no, it was probably let's see. It's been several years ago. It's been probably about 8 or 9. It's been quite a while.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Can always ask Tony that. And speaking about bulletin boards and that, Tony and I want to try to get a hold of his hard drives. I'm going to try to using my SCSI system, rebuild it and get it onto an SDC card, both of the drives, and see if we can reconstruct his bulletin board system, Cup of Coco.
Cool.
One thing I want to try with digging back into my code is actually I wrote a Mac utility for a front end for MAME for getting files off of an image and putting them back on. So I want to try to alter the code in a modern text editor, which would be a lot easier than the basic 09 editor, and then put it back on and see what happens. It may blow up or it may actually work. I don't know. I'll know when I try.
Now, I know one of the reasons I originally got a hold of you is because I was trying to run some of your old games in modern Nitrous 9, and I was having some issues with it crashing and stuff and doing weird things. And I know you've been working on disassembling and decompiling, I should say, the source code for some of your stuff. How has that progress been going? I haven't actually had a chance to talk to you about that in a while.
Slowly. I haven't had a really chance to dig into it yet. I have, jobs, side clients that kind of demand my time, but I'm really excited to get into it though once things slow down for me.
Okay. And another thing I wanted to check in with you too, because I remember when I was working on Nitrous 9 back when it was still commercial, was supposed to have been around 2000 when it was the 2.0, 2.01, and we'd done some of the major graphics speed ups, especially for the 639 chip. I know some of your games, Mine Risk in particular, I remember, was actually starting to run too fast. It was really hard to stop with it running into water and stuff because the graphics routines had sped up so much, and you'd kind of based your code on what the original, Christmas graphic patches ran on. So I don't know if that's something we'll need to adjust because I've actually sped them up more since then. So it might enable you to get some of your games to run with some new features and stuff that you'll actually have more time for. And but at the very least, we'll need to patch some of them to slow them down a little bit. So. Now, have you been just you've been decompiling? Have you been working on all of the games that you did? And did I list them all? The 3 that I remembered? Is there more than that I'm forgetting?
There was also one. I think I called it Magic Stones.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. That was based on a board game called Mage Stones.
Yeah, because that one I had running under Nitrous 9, and it works until you have to place your own stone in that middle column. And then it just exits out with no error at all. So I got to figure out what the heck's going on there. Yeah. And it didn't do that with 2.01 back in the day. So something's changed in between.
I would think that should be pretty easy to track down.
Yeah, I've started decompiling that one, but we'll see how that goes because I just haven't had time to do it the last 3 months. But
actually, that may be a good one for me to start with to figure it out because that was a much simpler game to program.
Well, okay, I can send you the source decompiled as far as I got. I haven't finished it, but there's a good chunk of it done.
Yeah, please do.
Okay.
Hey, what do you think of all the new innovations that we've had on the Coco, the MPI, the SDC,
VGA?
Were you surprised to see all this stuff, or?
Yeah. Yes, very much so. I mean, I think it's great that there's a community that still supports this machine, which had such a big impact in my early programming life, and I was just I just thought it was just dying out, but it's great that here we are, 30 some years later, and there's still a strong following for it, and the software being developed, hardware being developed, and it warms my heart that
Awesome.
that's going on. And this has been a nostalgic year for me because in September I went to a convention in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania for Space 1999. I don't know if any of you remember that TV series back from aired 75 to 77, starring Martin Landau and Barbara Bain. But it's really cool that I got to meet some of the stars of it, and so that and with meeting all you guys on here and talking Coco stuff. I mean, it's been a very nostalgic year for me.
Cool.
So you said you're planning on trying to get some hardware again. Is that because of all the new hardware expansions and the fact you can run SD cards and stuff like that, or would you when I first contacted you, were you planning on just strictly sticking with the emulator, or?
I'm probably just sticking with the emulator, although it's annoying because I can't get the arrow keys to work. And someone posted recently that they had the same problem, and there doesn't seem to be a fix for it in OS 9.
Is this with VCC or MAME?
MAME.
Okay,
Yeah,
I've got the arrow keys working, so I'm not sure what's
really okay.
going on
I
there.
have never been able to get them to work. I can't get the left and I think or is it no? It's a right and down work, but left and up do not. And no matter what I configure it, I can never get it where I configure the arrow keys on number pad or some other key. I can never get it to work.
Mac or PC?
Mac.
Well,
Yeah, and I'm running on a Mac too, so that's weird.
Yeah, just send me your configuration file.
Yeah, I'll take a look. Now,
Well,
out
at
of
least
the
if
four.
the back arrow.
Oh, good. Go ahead, David.
At least if the back arrow isn't working, you can't accidentally delete entire lines.
Control
Well,
H should work for
it works okay
backspace.
for it works. Yeah, it works okay for. It's when you're trying to emulate the joystick. Is the issue.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
if you're just doing typing on the shell, it works
Oh
fine.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just-
that works fine. Yeah, it's emulating joystick. So I want to get in my code and actually make it to where it'll work with just keys instead of joystick input.
Actually, the best person to talk about Mac MAME stuff would probably be Tim Linder, because he's actually one of the developers of the Coco side of MAME.
Oh, okay.
So he's quite familiar with that stuff. He might be able to help you better, probably better than I would. I just got it helped configured it years ago, and I've just left it that way. So,
And Floyd, are you on the Discord server?
Nope, I have no idea what that is. So.
Okay. So, Curtis, maybe we should get Floyd invited so he can ask technical questions in the Discord server.
yeah, we've got a Basic 9 section, an OS 9 section, a Nitrous 9 EOU section. So there's a lot of things that you might be interested in there.
I think we can post that actually in the chat. I don't know if Mark, if you have a moment, Marco, if you could post that, that'd be great. The invitation link.
Now, you said you had a friend that was doing some of the machine language subroutines for your assignment, or was it Simon?
Steve.
Steve,
Cronk.
sorry.
Yep.
Was it because he already knew it that you just never got interested in doing that yourself, or did it just
Yeah.
seem too complicated to you, or
Both.
so probably a combination of laziness and
yeah. It's interesting. Steve and I met because of the color computer. We were both attending Cincinnati Bible College at the time, and he walked past my room and saw on my desk the Coco 2, and he had a Coco 1. And so he said, "Is that a color computer?" I said, "Yeah," and so that's how we met.
And you guys still keep in contact even after you sold them all off?
Yep.
Has he expressed any interest in maybe rejoining even on the emulator scene? Just to
I don't know. I'll have to ask.
Yeah, it'd be kind of interesting to get him back in and get your team together again, and maybe make some new games too. Is once we get all the old ones fixed up.
Yeah, he wrote that, but I did the bulk of the programming, but he also had a lot of good ideas. So he was a little bit of the programmer and the idea man, and I was the implementer.
Okay, and I know you had some pretty decent, drawn graphics for like the tiles and stuff for all your games too. So was that you, or was that
That was
him,
me.
or a combination?
That was me. So I could actually do pretty good when it's only 8-bit color, or 16-bit. As soon as I got beyond that, I gave up. I couldn't draw the graphics very well. But thankfully, I have an artist buddy who I've been working on an iOS version of the Dungeon Depths, and so he's done the graphics for me on that.
Oh, is that still in development, or is that already on sale?
No,
or
it's
is it a
still
freebie,
it's still
or-
in development. And if anyone would like to be a beta tester, send me a private message and I can add you to the beta testing and I can release a new version.
Okay, is that going to be exclusively iOS, or are you also going to make like an Apple TV release, or what are they calling it now, iPad OS release or whatever?
Yeah, it's right now. It's just iOS for iPad and the iPhone, but that'd be kind of cool to have a Apple TV version of it.
Any plans of doing it to Android as well?
No.
Okay.
Sorry. But yeah, I'm at the stage right now in my coding where I'm just actually creating levels for it. So, and that is really the most tedious part is trying to create challenging but not too challenging levels.
Now, are you redoing levels from scratch for the iOS version, or are you duplicating the ones you did in the Coco?
Well, I got the basic ideas for the levels from the Coco version, but then kept adding to them, and now they bear a little resemblance to the Coco version levels, but the story is the same, and the basic game and the gameplay is pretty much the same.
Okay. I wonder if you maybe, once you get the iOS version done, if you've kind of expanded levels and stuff, now that we have, everybody seems to have SDCs, or you can emulate them and you can have more RAM. Like there's, I think,
oh yeah.
Boys and Tech's already mentioned they've sold over 200 2 meg RAM upgrades, and I don't know how many Cloud9 sold, so there's probably at least 300 to 400 out there. So, I mean, the base level that gets people with really large RAM-based machines, plus having, Coco SDCs with 128 meg virtual hard drives, that's probably getting close to 1,000, if not over that already. So, I mean, there's a lot of potential to make a much expanded version back compared to the day when you were trying to shoot for 128K or 512 at the most.
That'd be a cool idea. And my buddy, he did the graphics for the monsters based on the Coco version of the game.
Cool. Yeah, I'd like to see your dream team there come back together if you can. So yeah, definitely talk to him.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Bring him on the show.
Yeah,
we can do a dual
I think you'd
interview.
love it.
And then we can see if we can actually demonstrate some of your games, even if I have to make an older boot to get it to run properly until we figure what's going on. But
one of the coolest things that happened one time when I was down at that show in Atlanta, someone was running an MM1 and there was GemQuest running on it, and that was really cool, walking over there and see my game running on the MM1. I'd never seen it before running on the MM1.
Oh, I didn't know it was ported to the MM1.
Yeah.
Do you know who did the port?
No, I don't. I don't remember. I did at one point, but I don't remember now who did it. And the deal was that a portion of the sales would go towards a purchase of an MM1 for me, and sadly, that never happened. But that's okay. I just thought it was cool that it was on the MM1.
Yeah, cool. I don't think I ever saw that. I don't know if some of the other people on the panel that actually have an MM1, like David Ladd, I don't know if he's on the call right now or not, but I know he's got one. Were you still in the Cocos pretty heavily when the Coco 4s were all coming out, or like did you have a particular favorite? Because with the System 5, we had the MM1, we had the TC70, the TC9, and a bunch of others. Was any of those of any interest to you, other than if people were going to sell a port of your game to help you get one?
Well, I was interested in all of them because I wanted to get a faster computer, better computer running OS 9, and sadly I never got any of those because back then funds were extremely limited, so I couldn't afford a new machine.
That's a great limiting factor, I must say.
Yeah, that happened to me too.
Yeah.
I did end up getting the TC9, but that was only because it was the cheapest of the whole bunch.
Then I wound up killing. I'm sorry. Then I wound up killing my Coco because I tried to install the 6309 chip, and the soldering didn't go well.
Well, we've got people to do that for us now. We've got several companies that will do it, and a lot of skilled people, so it's much easier to get that done now. In fact, if you send in for the 2 meg upgrades, both major firms that sell 2 meg upgrades, they have a bundle with the 609, so you get the whole thing in one shot.
Yeah.
And I think it's like $50 for one and maybe 60 or 70 for the others. So it's fairly cheap, especially compared to the old days too, where that was the price of a 609 by itself. getting
Now,
installed.
have you heard about the Gimme X?
No, I have not.
It's a replacement Gimme chip.
Which has extra high res modes, a much expanded palette, possibly some glitter
VGA
functions. Yeah, VJ output, whole bunch of things added onto it. So
it's
We're
coming.
doing a crash course and all the developments that are happening in the next little while. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on.
There's also a single board Coco 2 coming out in its own case.
And a Coco 3 Plus as well. A new Coco 3 Plus hardware too.
Yep.
Right.
A complete Coco 3, the new, which might have been the Coco 4, but we're not allowed to say that. So.
Coco Plus is what they say.
Well, one of the first ways you're going to be able to take advantage of all that new stuff is using OS 9, the greatest operating system. It's modern, it's modular, it's worldwide.
And a bag of cash.
Yes, if you pay Curtis, he'll definitely support your product in OS 9.
no, you don't even have to pay me. I just want to help promote it. So now I was going to ask you, because I know we'd sent some source for some of your stuff. We were trying to figure out what was going on. How have you gotten to the point where you've actually figured out where it's crashing or what's causing the issue with?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I'll get there.
If you want to collaborate on that, since I know a lot of the internal workings, feel free to ask me any questions, or we can work together on some of that stuff too. Because you had a lot of the really good games. Some of the better Base 9 games. Like I mentioned before, you and Sean Driscoll seem to be the main people that really pushed that. I did a couple minor games, but I wasn't really a game writer. So
That makes me feel really good. Thanks for the compliment. I write software so people will enjoy it. So that's and that's my job now too. So my hobby became my job. I'm a web developer and iOS developer now. So
Hey, so
Cool.
you'll probably like when you do get a Coco 3, you'll get a new keyboard that's mechanical. It'll be a pleasure to type on.
oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, Ed's new keyboard is fantastic. It's really, really smooth.
So where can I get all this stuff you guys are mentioning? Where
You're
is
trying
there?
to sell him everything today.
Yeah. Well,
Welcome back. Buy a whole bunch of stuff.
most of the stuff, Floyd, is available on Ed Snyder's website, zipsterzone.com.
Actually, send them to imacoconut.com because there's a page on there with project updates and products being developed.
yeah, 'cause that'll cover everybody's stuff. Because I mean, the Coco VJs from one person.
So imacoconut.com.
Okay, just made a note of that. Cool. I'll check that out.
The bag of money I was referring to had to do with that.
Yeah, we work on kickbacks.
Also, I noticed in the chat there on Facebook, Fred posted the Discord link. So if you can join Discord, that would be great
Okay.
too. That
Yeah.
doesn't cost you anything, so that's even better.
Yeah, that's right.
But we got a lot of technical know-how people. We got a lot of people with ideas, and a lot of people that are willing to do testing, make beta testing software and hardware and stuff. So
Yeah,
it's a good group to join. And it's a live group. I mean, it's live chat, text. You can have spontaneous audio or video calls. You can do the live demonstrations, all kinds of stuff. So it's kind of handy.
Cool. We got a few trolls too,
but we love them.
but they're benign.
Fortunately, we don't have to worry about feeding them.
Hey, it's not our fault they keep coming back.
So one other question I have is once we get your 4 games working properly again, their ease of use, and we'll distribute them on there so that everybody can enjoy them. Do you have any ideas or plans for any new Coco games? Even just rough thoughts at this point, because obviously we're still trying to get everything working again, and then obviously you're getting your skills back up and stuff too. So
Not off the top of my head, because I've actually been trying to bring some of my old Coco games to iOS, so I've been going kind of that route. But I'm sure I can come up with something.
We had talked about, remember talking about having us all have some kind of like a BBS system or something to, while the show's going on, to log into and chat back and forth. I wonder if his BBS would that be something he could develop in the future, or is that like prohibitive, or we have to have OS 9, all of us, to do it, or probably not, right?
Well, for getting online chat, I guess it depends if you want to just go through the old, emulated modem route, or if you want to actually write some stuff to work directly on the internet, which I think only Brett's done at this point for direct, other than the KI9Q stuff that was done back in the 90s.
If we're at a good point to keep moving, I would say that Floyd just jump in and interrupt if there's anything else that you wanted to cover. Curtis as well, the same for you. I did want to go live to Richard Lorbieski, who is, I believe, somewhere in international waters. Is that correct, Richard?
Not yet. We're still in port. We're not going to leave until about 4 o'clock.
All right, so you have to obey U.S. law currently.
Yeah. You don't have to obey.
It never stopped you before.
No.
Where are you, Miami?
No, we're in Galveston.
Galveston, right on.
And Richard, of course, we've been talking about Boys on Tech, able to do those memory upgrades and 6309 upgrades, so that none of us, I won't name any names, but there are a few of us who've damaged our motherboards by trying to update that chip. So we can go to you for that, right?
Right. Yeah, that's when I'm not on vacation and cruising and stuff. Yeah.
So you've been so successful with the color computer that you're able to do this?
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
We're subsidizing his cruises, is what we're saying. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
You're welcome, Richard.
You're looking at boomerang money right here.
Oh yeah. Going on cruises.
We're trying to sell you some of your products to the new guy to help you.
Yeah.
What's it take to keep the dumpster fire going?
A couple of Chryslers.
Ah, there you go.
All right. Well, I made your image the full screen here, Richard. Is there anything that we need to know as a color computer community? What's in this photo that's important?
Absolutely nothing. This is our balcony suite. We're on the Lido deck, and we're on the Carnival Vista, and we're going to be taking off to Honduras, Belize, and Cozumel.
That's a pretty cool view there.
Yep.
All right.
Beautiful day by the looks of it too.
Well, that's our a very popular segment, Richard Lorbieski, live from Coco Cruise.
Have you met Gopher, your friendly pursuer yet?
He is a Coco cruiser.
That's right.
I prefer to call this the rubbing it in segment type thing. I think we just had snow here and winds like crazy, and it's currently 28 degrees Fahrenheit. So.
Well, it's going to get up to like 85 tomorrow, but it's going to be windy, and there's going to be a chance of thunderstorms. But that's kind of normal in the Gulf of Mexico this time of year.
At least that's something you have common with Saskatchewan is it's windy.
Okay.
Yeah.
You will be building stuff while you're there, though, right, Richard? You'll be working.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, Richard, just chime in as we move forward here. If you have any updates or any new images to share, please just don't hesitate.
Just jump in. Okay.
That's right. But don't jump over the balcony. We don't want that.
No. There's a lot of forms to fill out, but some people actually. There was a guy that jumped over the balcony on one of the other Carnival boats, and they tried to find him. But apparently they didn't. But there's been people that have been jumping off that, in port, they jump off the balconies into the water. And, they got cameras everywhere, and usually they get banned for life on the boats. They can never come back. So I don't want to do that.
All right. Well, that's a good policy, I think, to have.
Just watch out for icebergs.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a famous movie about an iceberg.
So much for Grant's wish of a hurricane. There was one that formed, but it's sort of like Grant's sex life. It was short-lived.
Oh, Grant.
We're going into after dark now.
Going to After Dark. Grant Leedy's not even on the panel and taking shrapnel already.
Yeah.
Best way.
I know we've got a longer segment coming up with Chet, so I just want to cover a few other introductions. David Ladd, are you out there?
Why, yes, I am, sir. And how are you doing today?
I could use a little bit more enthusiasm.
Well,
don't tempt him.
more with feeling.
But, you know, how can I help you today?
Well, we're just going to have a great show, and I'm really glad that you're here to be a part of it.
Why,
if
thank
anybody-
you for the sentiment.
I don't know if anybody can help us today.
We're gonna have a great show, so we're still in introductions then.
Okay. Well, David, do you have any hardware updates or any? You're always working on something. OS 9. Anything to share before we move on?
Well, for public stuff, no, I haven't really been working on. I still have a few things to test out on a alternate mouse design, but I've been working on a tool for Bruce and been testing that out. So that's pretty much the only thing I've been doing. I have no idea if Bruce has even tested it out from his end yet, but I've been playing with it a little myself. And so far, it's coming along.
All right. Well, speaking of Bruce, Bruce, you out there? D. Bruce Moore? He is not currently out there, so we'll loop back to him. Paul Shoemaker was here. I wanted to say hi to him. Paul, if you're out there and listening, rejoin the call, and I think we're gonna go over some of your new updates to Oregon Trail later in the show. So at this point, we would like to have a Game On segment. Chet, you ready for Game On?
Or do you want a commercial first?
Yeah, let's run a commercial.
Just
you know
to
what?
tease it up a bit.
Yeah, thank you. I need to remind me how to pace the show. Let's have a little bit of a Coco thought and then a commercial, and then we'll come back for Game On with Chet Simpson. Here's your Coco thoughts.
And now, Coco Thoughts by Samuel Gimes. Many people think 13 is an unlucky number, but I'm not superstitious.
Hi, I'm Tim. Playing Daggerith like that idiot from the book. You're watching CoCoTALK.
And we're back, everybody. Let's get our game on.
All right.
Chet Simpson, I believe you have some updates to share for us with us.
Yeah, over the last couple of weeks, I've been making some changes and doing some polishing, getting ready for the release and adding some of the stuff that I've been wanting to get in there for some time. And in fact, let me show my screen here. And so, Yeah, so a couple weeks ago, I started making some changes, particularly to things like the loading. I got rid of the vanity screen, got rid of the the graphical loader, and switched over to text. Something a little more basic that was a little bit faster on the loading, and allowed me to organize things a little bit easier. So, and then one of the other things that I wanted to do was to get some polishing in here for some of the transitions and some of the different scenes that you will have throughout the game. I mean, there's things like you have your credit scene, your end game, your intermissions, your pause, title scenes like right here. Going, your warp codes, all of that stuff has to be taken care of, moved over to be graphical. Get some animations on there, some text, and get the instructions, the help scene updated so that players know what some of these elements are, because there are a lot more elements that are being added into, and that's some of the things that I'm going to show you tonight. So a couple of things that I've actually done is get the some of the older levels from the first version of Digger over. That wanted to get some of the easier stuff in there, kind of going back to the first version. So I was able to get those out of the game and moved into the thing. And what I'm going to show you here is actually a test of some of the things that I've gotten into the game over the last couple of weeks in preparation for the for the launch here in a couple of months. So even the loading screen, is graphical now. So I want to go ahead and make sure that I set this to an invincible mode as I go through this. So this right here is actually just a test scene that I use for dropping in new actors or objects onto the game, as well as testing different animations and updates to the game engine. So one of the things that I've been adding here is proximity traps. So if you get too close to something, you'll see these little spikes that are coming out here close. Now the timing right here is off. That's why I've got invisible mode on. Makes it a little bit easier, because you can, as it goes down, it'll come up here pretty quick, and you can actually get dead really, really quick. So that's just one of the things that I've added into it. And you go through all of the different timings. So I wanted to make sure that that there was kind of a variety of this, so that, because on some of the larger levels, when you get up to the AI for the guards is a little bit off. And it makes it a little difficult to control, especially when you get into a much larger level that I've been playing around with. So you want to get some more obstacles in there, something that is a little bit different, something can grow throughout the as they progress through the game. And these things, little traps like this, make it a little bit easier, because you can randomize them through the map editor. You can make them appear or not appear based on a skill level. So it makes the game a little bit more dynamic in the options for the player. So we go through here, and we've got another one right up here. We go over here, and we want to get this gold, and this is one of the new creatures that kind of pops up, and this is a little dirt monster, and I've got a couple of audio sound effects that I still need to get in for this, but he pops up every so often, and there's going to be different behaviors for these based on different parameters that I can feed to them through through the map editor, and getting them into the game.
Can I ask you a question, Chet? Sure. I noticed you were live streaming on Discord the other day, and you were using Tiled, which is a free Windows-based game tile editor. Is there anything that you can share about how that tool works, or is it something that that's been very effective for you?
Yeah, there's I can certainly put together a demo on that, because the tools that I've got and setting stuff up for the definitions, because there is some work that has to go into it before you can use it. But yeah, that is the tool that I use, and it does make it easier, because you can easily organize and visualize things that I mean, I created a new level with about 20 minutes the other day, and it worked really, really well. Of course, others I've spent a couple hours on, and they still didn't work out. But it allows you to prototype this. This I put together in about 20 minutes, earlier, and adding all of the new objects and all of that. So it is a really powerful tool. So yeah, I'll put together something maybe next week or the week after that shows how to put all of that together and actually use it within the game.
Okay.
So going through this, and the way that I put all of this together is the code that I'm using for the dirt monster is actually the same that I'm using for the for the spikes that are coming out, with just a few parameter changes. So it makes it easy to add more obstacles like this into it and actually trigger their different behaviors. So they can now actually create more objects and throw them down. So if I want them to create a ball and roll it down the way I have that option, and it's quite easy. And most of this I did last night, this morning, so it's quite easy to drop some of the stuff into the game now with the changes that I'd made before I had to get back to stuff for work. So we have another one up here, and it's this one is a little bit harder to see. And of course, if you notice, you actually have to be, you can't just be under them or near them. You have to be within a certain plane. And the way that I did that is that I have some dynamic behavior based on some of the information that I provide in the map editor that allows them to check the various proximities. And I have about 12 different proximity checks right now to determine whether the player is. So that if I only wanted to check left or right, if it's blocked by a wall, I don't want them to get too close and actually realize that it's there. So there's little tweaks in there that are going on that make it a little bit more usable. So in the final game, these type of things would be quite irritating to deal with. And I've also combined some of this stuff with the overlays that I use for the different various effects like we've got here. And you have 3 different ones, and these are currently synced. And there will be different options for randomization on those as well. So there's a lot of different elements like this that are going to be going into the game will change as the game moves on, and some of them won't be, of course, in the earlier levels, but it will make it much more interesting. So with about 15 or 16 of these, I think it'll make it quite a fun game.
Quick question on what we're looking at right now here. Is that one single tile that just happens to be somewhat transparent and in front of the player, or is that actually multiple tiles level that you're building up from the bottom to the top?
No, that is those are multiple textures. You have the background tile, and then you have the sprite, and then of course you have the overlay on top of it.
Okay.
And what is the impediment here on the ladder?
That is just an overlay of blocks. I've used that in a couple of different levels on the preview. It's just a kind of a proof of concept on some of the work that I've done for managing overlays. This particular piece in the way that I'm doing it, however, is not going to be used in the next game engine, as I've got a much better way to handle actually full screen overlays, so in a much more efficient way than this would allow. So you'll be able to create some very interesting effects. And one of those that I've actually played around with is lighting, so that if you place your colors in your palette correctly, you can change one bit and reduce the brightness of that particular region. And by providing custom manipulators, you can actually go in and place these in the overlay so that as the character goes into it, they themselves actually become dark as well. You don't have to have multiple sets of sprites. You don't have to manage it. Of course, there is a CPU hit, but you use that effectively in your map design, and little effects like that can be quite nice.
Okay.
I think my cat agrees with you there, so I need to apologise for my for meowing in the background there.
Oh, that's all right. Of course, this is one of the transitions, and this is one of the things that I'm going to change to be a little bit more exciting, so that it counts up with the level bonuses, as well as have some animations and a true intermission for going to the next level. And this is just this is the first level from the original digger that I'd moved into to this to test around and see whether or not the new AI would or wouldn't work too well with this, and they did. So I'm going to include those in some fashion in the game. I may actually use some of the original imagery that I had, but we'll see. And that's really all I had for this weekend. So if you guys have any questions or anything, and really about the game in general, or even the techniques, certainly.
Well, my first question is, when do you plan to release the new levels, and where do we get it?
I'm planning a release around Christmas time.
Okay.
But somewhere between Christmas time and middle of January. And we're expecting 32 levels, and it's going to be available for download on the Coco archive.
Okay, and you're still planning on making it free?
Yes.
Okay. Can't complain about that.
Are you planning on having a tile edit or the map editor built in? I think you'd mentioned that before. I don't know if that was using external tools or if you were building that into the game.
No, that won't be built into the game. That will be actually using Tiled, the same tool that I was using on Discord the other night.
Okay.
Yeah, I've taken the tool that I've created is actually becoming quite useful. All of the stuff that I added today would have taken a lot more time if I hadn't been using those tools. So it's come in very handy, especially when you have limited time, and you want to get right down to the programming rather than just dealing with content all the time. So it makes it a lot easier to write the game and be able to focus on it more.
Okay. I will mention that Stevie Stroh is obviously watching here. He's actually posted a link to the map editor you referred to earlier.
Oh, I posted that. Stevie's
that was you.
Definitely not
okay.
watching.
Oh, okay. Well, screw him then.
Yes, the tiled map editor is a free tool, and I posted the link. It's at mapeditor.org.
Oh, I have one other question for you, Chet. The current disk image, is it still fitting in a 35-track standard disk image, or are you using expanded 40 double-sided 80-track images at this point, or are you fitting all this in one?
So far, it fits on one disk, but that's just a preview. It will be on two disks, on two disk images. All of the image and code will be loaded first, and then you'll have to swap disks for the level. So, and that's actually kind of by design so that you can insert level packs so you can build them with the tool. I'll be releasing all the information on how to use it, all the definitions and all of that. To create your own levels for Digger. So you can create an entire pack, replace all of the graphics if you want.
Okay, so you can actually create your own entire game, basically just using your engine as the core.
Well, no, you can create the levels and you can place the objects, but I mean, it's still Digger. You still have the same game mechanics. You still have the same object behavior. So you're not. It's just you could consider it a graphical clone, or you can just consider it a mission pack or something.
Okay. Yeah. Looks really good.
So, Chet, could you like change some of the screens and characters and stuff and make it like it could be like a Star Wars game where you're chasing in a strange planet or something? I mean,
yeah, you could have
something completely different.
Yeah, you could be, you could change it to, a Star Trek theme where you're like Captain Kirk or whatever, and you change the Gomers to be, Klingons, and you're on their home planet. You got to get out or whatever. I mean, yeah, there's certainly plenty of opportunity for that to do something like that in there.
And with your proximity detection for some of those newer things that you've added in, like the spikes and stuff, you could actually have doors opening and closing. So you could actually make the gameplay mechanics seem a little bit different than just digging and trying to pick up treasures. You could actually have little mazes and trip blocks you have to trigger or something like that, I presume.
Yeah, there's actually switches. In fact, that's in the current tile set that I've got. I just need to add the actual code to handle it. There's just I've got to go in and add some stuff in order to link everything together, because there's some synchronization that I'd like to go on between some of these objects, and then some of the triggers you have to be able to define them and what they do. So you have to be able to associate those two and be able to do that efficiently during gameplay. Otherwise you eat up way too much cycle time. So but yeah, that is certainly going to be happening with this game.
Cool.
What are the technical requirements for it? Is there anything specific that's needed to run it, or
just 512K? It's standard 1609 code. It was originally developed on specifically for the 1609, so there are no 6309 optimizations in it. So it's outside of that, you're good. And it does work on all the 2 meg boards that I've heard of. We've seemed to have gotten all of those issues fixed from the first run, so that's it. Just 512K.
Cool.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I'm really excited to get it finished and out there.
Yeah, I don't know about other people, but this was the first load runner type clone game that I was able to get into. For some reason, all the other versions just didn't capture it, and maybe some of it is some of the graphics. And I know Paul Thayer, if I get my Pauls right, I believe Paul Thayer contributed to some of the design of the characters, right, Chet?
Yeah, he did the replacements for the player and the guard sprites.
So, even if you think, this might be a load runner and I wasn't into that game, I would dare you to try it out because it just feels more fleshed out than previous versions that I've played.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with some of the AI and the size of the maps. There's for a lot of load runner games, it's open. When you get into the closed spaces, the way that the guards act is quite fixed, and they will follow you around, and it can get tedious. So that these guards aren't too bright at times, and that's actually by design. There's actually some quirks in it that aren't supposed to be there, but there is some stupidity that's been built in. So
that would be like artificial stupidity? Is that what you've developed?
Yes, I have invented artificial stupidity.
Awesome.
Yes.
Machine unlearning, that's what we call it.
Right.
Well, the first level of Digger 3, there's a point where you could hide and none of the guys can catch you. They just totally miss you. And
yeah, and that's some of that is by design. It's just that it's not supposed to happen every time.
Well, it's a good place to park if you have to go to the bathroom or answer your phone call. So
yeah, actually, what I do there's actually a bug in it. You can go in and you can stand off the edge of off of the stairs, and they'll just run right on by you and never get you.
Let me write that down.
That won't be in the final game. That's the only reason why I'm talking about it.
Yeah. So anyway, check it out. I believe Digger 3 Preview, the original edition, is on the Color Computer Archive.
Yes, it is. It's and it is the latest version, and it does have all of the fixes and the compatibility stuff for the 2 meg boards.
Cool.
Okay. Well, if you want to stop sharing there, Chet, we will continue on with the show. I did. Somebody pointed out on Facebook that the audio levels were high on a couple of those recorded bits, and that's my fault. I was adding new recorded bits today, and I didn't lower the volume. So that should be fixed going forward, and the other commercials I have on deck are set correctly. So I apologize if I blew out anybody's eardrums there. Let's see here. Who's still on? Paul Shoemaker, come back if you hear this. We'll go over your Oregon Trail. I don't see Bruce Moore any longer. We'll certainly get an update from him. We want to talk to him about phone phreaking because the 8-bit guy who's been a guest on the show had a pretty good presentation at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo on phone phreaking, kind of explaining how it worked, and that's a subject that is near and dear to Bruce Moore, and he has a project that's about phone phreaking that's coming out soon. So we'll talk to Bruce either later today or next. Yes, Samuel Gimes was too loud, Ken. That was my fault. Yeah, we will fix that. So should we take a appropriately set loudness commercial break, Curtis, and then maybe come back with news? And if
sure.
Paul Shoemaker joins or Bruce Moore pops back in, we can talk to them.
Yeah, I do have some of Paul's stuff in the news, so if he isn't able to come back, we will cover some of the stuff he's done. But I don't have anything on Bruce's updates. So.
Okay, so I'm going to select a commercial here at random that I've got ready, and cover yours just in case. But I think it'll be fine. We'll be right back after these messages.
Hi there, this is Mark Overholzer, and you're watching CoCoTALK, the world's leading weekly talk show where you can join in. Hey, come watch us and see what's happening in the world of Coco.
CoCoTALK is brought to you in part by Placeblex Dietary Supplement. Placeblex. We think it works, so will you.
What's going on, everybody? Stevie Stroh, and I want to say thank you for continuing to watch and listen to CoCoTALK. We love doing this show. We think we put together a pretty good show for you, but this show could be better with your help. So if you would like to send a feedback, a comment, a suggestion, a show topic, or maybe even your own little segment or bumper, then send it to us via email to CoCoTalk@CoCoTalk.live. This show would be nothing without you. Love to hear from you.
Coco de c'est le coq champignon, des micros et dans le pion. Pour le jeu, il est pas battable, les études, c'est pas disable. L'expansion, il a ça, les commandes, tu vas voir ça. Notre Coco est contrôlable, pour tes cours, c'est bien serviable. Coco de radio chaton, la belle est dans le sac.
Un ordinateur couleur qui a de la personnalité. Le Coco 2 de Radio Shack. On solde pour Noël à partir de 149,95.
Coco de radio chaton, la belle est dans le sac. C'est toi et Coco 2.
We now return you to CoCoTALK.
And we're back. I believe we've got some news. I don't have a news introduction for you, Curtis, but take it away.
That probably doesn't work very well, but anyway.
I believe I have to stop sharing system sound to...
Yeah, I just tried sharing it. It
Yes,
said
you may...
you're hogging the bandwidth, man.
Take it away, L. Curtis Boyle.
Okie dokie. And you guys have to let me know when the first time we get sound here whether the sound is too loud or too quiet, because it's hard to tell on this end. Hey, so number one is we have to have our weekly Jim Gerrie update. So this is a program called Stronghold of the Dwarven Lords for the MC10. I think he just has background music, so I'll just mute that out a little bit here. So it's kind of a maze game. Done in low res graphics, because that's what the MC10 is capable of, from basic anyway. It's a port, I believe, from a game from some other platform. Let's see if he has any. Yeah, based on Time Hartnell's. I don't know what that was originally on off the top of my head, but basically you have to kind of navigate the maze and get out type thing. Anyway, if you're into the MC10, that's a nice little addition to the game library from the other 1,000 or so that Jim's done over the last few years. And this one here, Brian Palmer and a few of us, we were taking a look at one of the games from the Dragon that we had watched on a few episodes ago, from going through some of the Dragon stuff. And this was a really cool 3D perspective game of trying to get out of a maze in a certain time limit, and you have to avoid monsters like snakes and this zombie rug thing, and then you also have to pick up fruit to increase your willpower, etc. But we've been fiddling around with the palettes, because I mean it's done in the the green, yellow, blue, red palette. So Brian Palmer did a screenshot here of some palette changes he's been doing just to try to experiment with it. This is kind of like extending for some other games what Nick and I had done, and now I think was it Paris Surratt? Somebody else was doing the Coco VGA version, but there's been a few of these going around.
Yes.
I think this personally, I think this one actually does look better than the original. So it's a nice one. And of course, anybody who has a Coco VGA and a Dragon can actually play it on the Dragon with the modified colors now too. So
That's right.
But a really cool game too. It was fairly unique. And the first of the two updates concerning the Oregon Trail by Paul. Sorry, I keep getting stuff coming up here. So he's actually got a bit of a game playthrough here video. Hopefully that's big enough for you people to see. But it's looking really close to the original Apple II Plus version, which is what he's basing it on. And he's got a machine language routine to do the text, so it's a lot faster than the other graphic images I believe he's loading directly from disk. I won't play the whole video here, but you can see the artifacting colors actually are coming through quite well. It's not quite as colorful as the Apple II because they had that alternate bit where you can get the green and purples as well as the blues and reds. So we're restricted to the standard P Mode 4 artifacting, black, white, blue, orange. But the graphics came across quite well. The speed of the text is actually quite well. He's gotten pretty far into it. So it looks like this is actually, we've talked about a few people doing Oregon Trail converts before, and it never looked like they were ever going to come to fruition. I think this one actually is going to get completed, so looking forward to it. And related to that, is that vintage is the new old has actually got a write-up and a bit of an interview with Paul on the Oregon Trail. So even actually show an old handheld version, which I'd never seen before, which is kind of cool. It's a little portable version that's made to look like a fake, disk drive and everything else too, on a tiny screen. But he kind of goes through an interview with it here, and talks about his plans for he's going to release the basic source code, but not necessarily the machine language source code for the subroutines he's doing, etc., and just kind of how he's been converting it, etc. So definitely an interesting read. Next up, we have Diego. He's got Xfiler version 4 out, and this is a file manager for HDB DOS, which is kind of similar. He's doing kind of an 80-column version at this point of something similar to the SDC Explorer, except specifically for the HDB DOS for hard drives. So he's got a bit of you can actually go download off his site at YACCS. For any of you running HDB DOS, and I know some of the emulators support it, so it's a fun thing to play with, and it's pretty nice having the 80-column thing. That's one thing about the SDC Explorer. I mean, they wrote it specifically to be backwards compatible with Coco 1 and 2, so you had to keep the 32-column. But it's nice having more on the screen at once, so you can get through your directories and stuff faster. Definitely worth a check out, though. And then I've got my weekly summary of Pet Sass Jim 1 on YouTube. Has been doing all the Dragon stuff on the X4 emulator. I just picked a few every week here to kind of show you some of the stuff we never saw on the Coco here. So this is the type of stuff we could port across, including that backtrack that Brian was working on earlier for colors. So the first one up here is called Death Cruise, and it's is that too loud, by the way?
No, it's all right.
Maybe a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's better.
It's annoying.
Well, I am too, so it just fits the theme.
He just asked for loud, not annoying.
So this is one. It's a kind of an adventure text game, but it's actually multiplayer, and you actually take turns, and you have to basically have other people leave the room because there's certain things that you do that you don't want the other players to see, and then you kind of play against each other, which is kind of an innovative thing. I kind of thought was neat.
Huh.
Like here you say, please enter only when all the other players have looked away. I do know there was I think it was Chroma said, or was it T&D? There's a thing called Stellar Empires that actually had a multiplayer one. And I know we had modified it. We used to use it at some parties when we were young. Basically one of those, take over the universe and attack other planets and stuff. And we added a thing so you could send direct messages between specific players, because the original game had this general mailbox that everybody could see everything. But you could form secret alliances with people and, doubly attack one of the other players and stuff. So it was a lot of fun. So I kind of like these kinds of games. So it'd be a fun one to have people gather around. Next one here is called The Dark Pit. One thing I found unique about this one that I'd not seen before is that this one actually supports the Tandy Electronic Book, which has been talked about, I think, about a year ago. So here's the prompt for it. Because I didn't even know that any Dragon people even had the Tandy Electronic Book. So obviously it apparently works with it just fine. So I know some people actually have it, and there's not a lot of software that's made for it, but here's a new one, or new to us anyway, that actually does support it. The emulator he's running does not support the electronic book, so there's no way for us to show, how it interacts with it in this case. But basically, it's a gather the treasure, avoid the monsters type thing. This one could use some palette hacks too.
Again, that 6-bit DAC. How about that? Digital audio to audio converted sound.
I think he only has the one level here in this case. So.
All right.
Anyway, that's a pretty interesting little game to try.
Yeah, potentially with the sound off. I think you want to try that.
Next one up here is called Cyclops. I have seen this one before a long time ago. I completely forgot about it. It's a high-res semi-graphics game, but it's kind of like Pac-Man, but not quite. Better turn that one down because I know that one's a little annoying.
Push the bar. Which bar?
I just want to thank Fred Dufas for posting the links again this week in the chat in Facebook, and I believe it will show up in the regular chat.
Yeah, it looks like Fred's posting it in Facebook and Mark's posting it in YouTube. So
okay, thank you guys.
Anyway, when I say it's similar to Pac-Man, it's because, and I'll just skip all these directions. We'll pretend we're Stevie and just don't read them. There's just the one Cyclops in the maze. So that's a little bit different. But there seems to be some sort of little warp thing. If you guys have played Spectral's Ghost Gobbler, they have that one warp thing where if you hit that one square, you jump into a different part of the maze.
Is this new?
No, this is old.
Okay, because it looks really
1983.
good.
Once again, it's one of the Dragon games that we never saw in North America. So
just a really nice job with the semigraphics. Now, does this I see text characters, so is this compatible with the Coco 3?
You wouldn't be able to read the text on the Coco 3. There is a couple pokes you can do that will get the graphics part to work, so you can play the game.
Okay, but you won't have the pellets.
It depends if the pellets are done with a graphic character or if they're done with a dash character or something. If it's dash, like a text character, then no, you wouldn't be able to see them. If it's done with just a graphics block, then yes, you could. I haven't tried it personally to see.
Would it work in composite on the 3?
Yep. Just type CMP first, you get the right palette settings.
Of course, the Gimme X will fix all of this, so we'll be able
yes,
to play
because it will be
these.
backwards compatible, which is going to be a really nice feature to have.
Mm-hmm.
Amongst many other features it's added. Next one is one of the multitude of the Cuthbert series. This one's called Cuthbert in the Cooler. And it's one of the later ones from 85, because some of the other ones came out in like 83, I believe. Probably a little loud, I'm guessing, but I'll turn it just a tad.
So these are all new. We didn't. I mean, not newly created. I mean, we didn't go over these in previous weeks, right?
No, not that I remember anyway. The ones that Jim's been putting up, basically he's been going through the dragons in alphabetical order. I'm not giving you guys all of them. There's a ton of other ones too. There's a lot of basic games, a lot of ones that are just generic adventure games that I'm not bothering to post. You can go see them on his YouTube page. I'm trying to show some things that basically I don't think a lot of you have seen, but actually it does look pretty interesting to play.
Curtis, can you introduce the lady who's at the lower right of the screen? I wanted to get to know her.
I didn't even notice that.
I don't know if she was part of the game.
Maybe she's the prize when you win. I don't know.
It's pretty good graphics there.
Yeah, I'm not even sure. This is one I've not played. I know you're avoiding guards and stuff like that, so it's a pretty interesting little kind of escape style game.
Interesting how they sort of got the 3D perspective sort of thing going on.
Yeah, there's a firing and stuff too. You have to get keys.
Can you do me a favor? Just click the X on the lady there. That's all I can. I'm not even paying attention to the game.
Well, that sounds like a personal problem to me. So
you can't. All right, you can't click that off. Okay, there we go. That's better.
Okay, this one's Dragon Golf. I know. I have to say one thing. We have never had a really, really good golf game that I've seen on the Coco. There's a couple that are not too bad on the Coco 1 and 2. I don't think everybody's ever made a Coco 3 one. But I think we could do one that's a bit more modern looking than some of the stuff we've seen. So in 5 years' time when I'm done EOU, I might actually try to tackle one. I might have to actually talk to Matchy on that because he's done some 3D perspective stuff for drawing the underlying ground undulations, etc. But this is kind of an interesting one. He's actually using, the standard text screen with some graphics characters in there. But he kind of lays it out. You can see the up arrows are trees, and then he's got the rough as the double quotes and stuff. So it's kind of a graphical representation, but done in low res. I thought it was an interesting way of doing it.
So this is all in basic, I'm guessing?
Yeah, this is all in basic. Sounds not the greatest, but... And this one is kind of odd. There's two games called Dragon Trek by two completely different companies that came out only a year or two apart. So I'm not sure if copyright was that important in Britain or not, but these are both based on Star Trek style games. The first one here is by Salamander Software. And it's graphical in the low res, like PMO 1 type thing. I'll just skip ahead. Text screens, here we are. You can see your start date and stuff there, and then it actually does a bit of a representation in a graphics mode. We've had quite a few text-based ones on the Coco, and we've had 1 or 2 graphics ones like Trek 3x5 from Adventure International. But these two are actually fairly interesting. They're a little bit different in some ways than those. So that's the first one. And then there's the other one, also called Dragon Trek from the year before by S.W. Winter and Co. So it's totally different authors. So I'm not sure why they chose the same name, or maybe they just didn't know about it. I'm not sure.
Cool little graphic screen intro there.
Yeah. Let's fast forward past all the...
Nice little representation of the Enterprise.
Yeah, this is done on more in the grid-like pattern, like a lot of the text-based ones are, except it's actually using graphic characters to do it. In this case, bumping it up to PMO 3 as well. Now, this is one in particular that could use a machine language routine to draw the text, rather than using BASIC to really speed it up. But you get to move around, you get to shoot things, and typical Star Trek. I don't see any red shirts yet, but that's the only thing really missing. Next up, Aaron, and this is part of the new Coco podcast they're doing. They're actually doing some live gameplay, well, not live, but recorded gameplays on real hardware as opposed to running on emulators, etc. So Aaron actually did a playthrough. He did a playthrough of Sailor Man a week or 2 ago, and now he's done one for Poltergeist. And he's using one of those joysticks. I'm just muted and bump it up ahead here a bit. But he's using one of those joysticks that's basically adapting a Switch joystick. So for the first 2 levels of Poltergeist, that works great because you're just going to be running around in 8 directions, picking up stuff. And the stairs, you're just going up, down, left, right. On the energy field at the last, so it actually starts using it as an analog joystick. So it's actually taking your 64x64 and compressed it to the middle of the screen to move your crosshairs to shoot the Poltergeist or accidentally shoot Carol Ann if she's coming out of the energy field. So he found it impossible to actually do that because you can only jump to different parts of the center. So I sent him a recommendation. I said, if you still have a Black Beauty kicking around or a fully analog stick, that you might need that to try to get past level 3. It's pretty well impossible with a Switch stick. So Switch sticks are really good, and we'll get more into Switch sticks a little bit later on with one of Stevie's videos that he did this week. They're definitely not for every game, and in this case, it's kind of a mixed bag. It's really good for the first 2 levels. It sucks for the 3rd level.
This is actually really good.
Joysticks.
It's a good-looking game. What was but there's a bug where you can completely avoid getting killed. Isn't that right?
On the first level only. If you hold down the joystick button, none of the cars come out.
Okay.
So the only thing that'll kill you then is this timer running out. Okay, next up here, Dave Phillipson, who's active in Discord and also the author of Supercom, Terminal Program for Ostine, has a video showing some of the progress he's made on his Coco dev board, which is an FPGA 6809 core, kind of similar to the Coco FPGA, running at 25 megahertz, and he's got BASIC running on it. And you'll notice it's in a much higher res screen mode than a normal Coco would be in.
That's
so this
like
is
it's like a IBM font.
Yeah. Kind of reminds you of the Coco VJ, except with even wider horizontal res. And here he's doing some little demos and stuff running on it.
Yeah, it's
and
16 by 9.
Yeah, and this kind of is an explanation of what it's going to do. And it's still very much a work in progress, but there's a few people that have expressed some interest in it. It's not strictly a Coco, but it's close enough. It's kind of reminds me a bit of the 8-bit guy's Commodore 64 project, where he's actually trying to do the Commodore 64 BASIC, but he's not strictly making it just Commodore compatible. He's kind of expanding past that.
And Dave's including a real-time clock. I want to point that out.
Of course.
Every project needs a real-time clock.
Real-time clock, yeah. Stevie himself actually did a couple of Coco-related videos here. The first one was when he was doing some stuff on the Coco VGA, and he's actually demonstrating a game here that Brendan and his daughter wrote. Megan's her name, I think, if I remember correctly. So basically,
Morgan.
You can see
Morgan,
some of
I
the
think, wasn't it?
Morgan, sorry. My apologies, Brendan and Morgan. So this one here, you can see some of the customized character sets that the Coco VGA allows you to do. So they've reprogrammed to be hearts and a little person walking around, and it's kind of a dodge the bombs thing, collect the hearts.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. Right?
Unfortunately, it does
that's
have
one of the
Steve's
cool things
paddling on it,
about,
but I can't help that.
The
Yeah,
Coco
nothing's
VGA,
perfect.
you can actually change. What
And I don't know if she
characters
based
on
the
screen look
bombs
like. You can
on
redefine the character
Rick
set,
Adams' game because they do look a
which
little bit
opens
similar.
up
Of course,
a
they're
lot
not,
of ideas for games.
Burning
And
down
this
like
has
that.
given
But
me some ideas.
it's a nice
And that
demonstration of
was
what a
one of the things I
custom
was
character
really
set can do
excited
to
get this
give
for,
your
'cause I
game
wanna
a lot better
do a
look
version
than
of
just
my
using the
Cosmic
built-in
Aliens
semi-graphics
on this
stuff.
where I can
Now,
discuss
Curtis, could you release a game that would support both non-Coco VGA color computers and also be able to detect a Coco VGA is installed and then give you the custom?
There is no way to detect if a Coco VGA is installed.
Oh, okay.
In order for it to be completely compatible, basically it just it fools the computer into thinking it's just a regular VDG. So from talking to Brendan, there's no way to detect whether you've got that or which version, because he's got an updated version on the last runs of boards he's done that actually expands the palette beyond 512 colors to 32,000 colors.
So what does this look like on a non-VGA? Just like text characters?
Yeah, I can't remember which character she specifically redefined to draw the hearts, the person, and the bombs, but basically whatever those originally were would show up instead.
So if you're somewhat cognizant of that, you could design it so that it would maybe look okay on a color computer without, yeah.
Though that kind of defeats the purpose, because I mean, you can really do some expansive. You could kick this into 64 by 32 column mode, for example, on the Coco VGA to make a much bigger play expanse that you can't do at all on a Coco 1 or 2. So.
All right. Well, at least it will run without crashing.
Stevie's timing on putting together this video was couldn't have been better for me. I was actually in conversation with Ed Snyder about the redefining things on the Coco VGA, because I'm looking at doing that with some of my music sequencing software that I'm writing. And I was literally that day just about to go in and do some editing and figure it all out and work on Coco CCV configuration files and all the rest of it. And Stevie covered the whole thing in that video, and it was just perfect.
Yeah, no, actually, I jumped ahead a bit here just so Stevie demonstrating the actual character editor, where you can change the characters and you can create your own, and you can load them in dynamically. So you can have part of a game use one tile set, and then if you have a level 2 or level 3 that needs completely different tiles, you can just load another one. So you're not even fixed to just having it reloaded once. You can load it dynamically on the fly.
And you can export all these as data files in a config file that you can bring into your own basic programs in too, which obviously what Stevie's done, but that's a really cool thing about the Coco VGA. I really like that you can do that.
Yeah, like here's designing a little rocket ship with flames animated. So you just switch between the two characters and it'll kind of make it look like it's an animated ship type thing. Kind of the tile set graphics I believe the VIC-20 used, if I remember correctly. It's kind of like this. And some other 8-bit machines of the era. That's really good video. It's long, so I'm not going to obviously play the whole thing here. But if you're interested in the Coco VGA or just seeing what it can do, that's a good place to go to see that video, which is on Stevie's YouTube page. And then the second video we did, which I believe he even did the same day, this is Sheldon McDonald has done some new Coco controllers, which has a little thumb joystick, which is a little black thing there that you can tilt left and right. And it's not totally switch based. It's kind of analog, kind of switch. It does spring back to the middle. It does actually give you some gradiated X and Y coordinates. So it actually does work somewhat on, though it's a little bit touchy because it's just a thumb controller, but it actually does work on some of the analog based games, not too badly. And then it has 2 buttons for support. Now there's 2 versions of this joystick. The one on the left here is showing where the cable goes straight out. And the one on the right actually has the joystick DIN connector, so you can plug the joystick directly into the cable there. So, and Stevie kind of played with both. They play about the same, but he was going through a bunch of different games to see how well controlled and stuff. So like in here, in this case, he was playing downline with some talking, and Sheldon was, discussing games that he thinks it really works well on helping play better, and some other ones where it doesn't work so good type thing. So Stevie went through, I don't know, probably about a dozen games to try it out. I don't know if Sheldon's selling these yet or not. If anybody else knows, they can chime in. But it definitely looks like a nice design. It's nice and compact too. So if you want to like haul joysticks around to a friend's place or something, they're nice and small and compact. So, and if for people like me that do prefer the thumb control versus the big honking stick you got to hold with your whole hand, I mean, I used to use the Black Beauties, and I'd actually unscrew the top, so I'd get a little thumb control on there.
And this must be a good controller because Stevie's already made it to level 2.
And there you go.
Spoke too soon.
Yeah. Let's just call that barely to level 2. But yeah, it does seem to help. Like I know Stevie played better downline than I've usually seen him play, so it does seem to be helping in his case especially.
Except now he's going the wrong direction. Okay.
This game was specifically requested to be tested because that was one of the ones that he was the joystick creator was targeting.
Yeah.
So he said test downland.
And here, this has turned into a huge discussion. Bill Pierce a while ago demonstrating a hardware scroll, and for 512K, where he's doing some graphics. He preloaded everything. He's not doing tiles or anything else. This is not the efficient way to write a game. It was just to do a demo.
Curtis, can you tell us a little bit about Bill Pierce and his background, and kind of preface this with that?
Sure. Bill Pierce is a professional studio musician and studio. He actually has his own studio. He actually records for other bands and stuff. So him and Bruce Moore would probably get along really well. But he's been using Coco stuff for music for years. And actually, when Mike Knutson got out of the Coco community when he retired, he gave all the source code for Altamuse, which is a MIDI sequencer playing program, series of programs actually for OS9 that actually lets you do 16 voice MIDI and stuff. He gave it all to Bill Pierce, including all the graphical routines he did. So he's done M Shell for OS9, which is a GUI, text-based GUI that does file copying and all kinds of stuff. It has a multi format music player that can play Lyra files and Musica files and MIDI files and everything else too. So he's been doing a lot of work on the OS9 side of things. And this actually was his first time to go back to doing an RS-DOS style program in decades, I believe. So he was just kind of fiddling around, and he did this little scrolling demo. And then he did another one that actually uses 2 meg, because we have these 2 meg boards out now too. So he made this huge long scroll that you can just scroll back and forth. And he also changed the driver from basic to machine language to speed it up and smooth it out a little bit. But I'm trying to remember who was the one. Was it Lord Dragon that actually found the quirk on the 2 meg boards, I think? But it came up in the discussion that if you kick the Coco 3 to single speed, 0.895 megahertz, not 1.78, on a 2 meg board, if you start doing your video memory outside of the first 512K, all of a sudden it starts to do weird things. And basically what is happening, as far as we can tell so far, is that the gimme, when it's doing video, will do 16 bits at a time. So 2 bytes worth of data, whether it's text mode or graphics mode. And basically it will start doing the first 16 bits are correct from whatever video bank you select. In this case, I think he was using video bank 3, because every 512K is a bank you can control the video from. You can only have it coming from one 512K bank at a time. And then it would pull the next 16 bits from bank 0 again. And it should be grabbing them all from bank 3. Now, I know Jim Brain actually has a disto 2 meg board. So he actually tried it on there, and it does work properly on the disto. It does not work properly on anything else. It does not work on the Cloud 9 properly. It does not work on the Boomerang E2. Now, for me personally, this isn't a big deal because it works fine if you're running at 2 megahertz. Like if you've got the Coco 3 running at its native full speed, then it runs perfectly fine. And I don't think I can name a single game author that would purposely make the Coco 3 run at half speed to do anything with incredible graphics like this. So I don't think it's an issue for most people. I did try it under Nitrous 9 because Nitrous 9 actually does do its video memory at the end of your 2 meg, and it does all your programs from the beginning of the 2 meg. And it actually does do the same problem on there too if you kick it down to single speed, which Nitrous 9 never does on its own. You have to go out of your way to do it. And like I said, for Coco 3 game developers, that's the same thing. I don't think anybody would purposely cut your machine speed in half. So to me, it's more of a quirk of the design that maybe you should be aware of, but I don't think in real programs it's going to be an issue for anybody. I don't think people have to start returning all their 2 meg boards and getting updates or anything like that. So for me, it was just
it runs fine with the Gimme X installed with the 2 meg board as well. With the Boomerang board, it was at half speed.
Yeah, if you're bypassing the DAT board, if you're going straight to the Gimme X, with the Gimme X's built-in DAT, then it works. So the current speculation from Ed Snyder, Jim Brain, and a few others is that it has something to do with the timing of the static RAM that the upgrades are using versus the dynamic RAM that we had in the old days, which sounds like it could be. And programs themselves run fine. You can load programs, RAM disks, your data never gets corrupted. And even in this case, the screen looks corrupted, but nothing is corrupted as far as memory goes itself. It's just the display. You kick it right back into double speed again, and everything starts displaying totally fine, even if you're in the middle of running a program. So it's not causing any corruption issues or anything else except for the display itself. And the actual underlying video memory itself is also fine. So if you kick the speed back up, it just fixes itself and it's fine. Like I said, I don't think it's a huge deal to almost anybody at all. It's just a quirk that was discovered by accident when Bill did his little demo, because he didn't kick it up to double speed, or whoever did discovered the quirk, I think, had found out that it didn't work properly at single speed. So I don't know. Some of the hardware guys might figure what's going on, and they may want to fix it just to be purists, but I don't think it's an issue.
Yeah, it's probably not the kind of thing that most people are going to notice. Like you said, it's if you really wanted to notice it, you'd have to then purposely go in and
slow your machine
take out
down,
the
yeah.
high-speed poke. Yeah.
I wouldn't worry about it. That's my summary of it, I guess. The next one here, this was posted into Discord. Steve Bamford has been working on a Halloween themed level for his upcoming, I don't know how to pronounce this, Karuki no Shima Circe? Sure.
Circe's Island?
Which is a Game Master cartridge game. That actually is, I think, the best demo I've seen of what the Game Master cartridge can do for allowing you to run full speed graphics on a Coco 1 or 2 while running multi-voice music and sound effects from the Game Master cartridge sound chip. So I will play this. You'll have to tell me what the audio level in this is, because it's actually separate from the other levels. Is that too loud, or?
Seems okay to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he mentioned that like the music isn't perfect yet. He hasn't got it pitch perfect or anything. This is just more of a demonstration. But he actually took some of the game elements that he already had on previous demonstrations of this game, and then he added a bunch of Halloween things. You got tombstones, you got pumpkins, you got skulls, and all kinds of things. And he added some new gameplay mechanics based on some of these things. So actually, there's some additional play in the game. Bats carrying stuff too. So another one that's a contender for some palette changes on the Coco 3 or Coco VGA. But he chose the palette's pretty good as it is. I mean, water's actually blue.
Sounds very sim chip, Commodore 64.
Yeah, I mean the Game Master cartridge's sound chip isn't as advanced as a SID, but it's up at the Tandy speech sound pack level.
That music reminds me an awful lot of a Game Boy.
Yeah, I mean there's quite a few that use that sound chip back in the day, like in the early '80s. Some of the other machines use that exact same chip, so it'll sound like a lot of them. And it gave you like a noise channel and up to 3 music channels. So
IBM PC Junior, Tandy 1000.
Yep, exactly. There's some other ones too. I can't remember off the top of my head, but.
So what is the chip?
It's an AY. What is it, Mark? Do you remember?
Nope. It's a TI.
Oh, TI.
It's like a 76, 496 or something like that. I was just going to post a link to it.
What he said.
Okay.
And I know Neil had put a picture on Facebook here. He's actually manufacturing a bunch of the Bear GMC cards right now as part of his winter project, since it's, you don't go outside in Canada when it's winter unless you're playing hockey or something. So he's got a bunch of those actually getting manufactured so that if people want to start developing or, and you actually, selling game cartridges using that GMC sound chip built onto it, there's going to be a bunch of them available right away.
And Retro Innovations, actually helping us out for a change, posted the chip number.
Oh, okay. I'm not used to him being helpful, so
I know.
That's kind of a surprise. But like I mentioned at the top of the segment for this particular game here, this is one of the best uses of the JMC I've seen. This is actually looks like an awesome game, using it to its full potential with full multi-voice and sound effects. So it's a good showcase for the JMC.
Yeah, and it's being marketed as being compatible with the Dragon, with several of the Color Computer clones, and if it's packaged together as a nice physical product, could be quite a worldwide release. Could sell a lot of copies.
Circe's Island got a lot of attention at VCF West, where we were proud to be able to demo it for Steve Bamford.
And that was previous to the Halloween extensions he's added too, right?
Correct. Yeah, but it did have the GMC, Coco GMC support, so it was great. A lot of people saw that and they recognized, you know, the type of art, and so they were trying it out. So it was really cool.
Cool. I'd like to see what he does with the Coco VGA version with, you know, settable palettes and stuff too, to make it look really spiffy. And this was one I just stumbled onto this morning I hadn't seen before. It's
Now,
a guy who-
did you stumble upon it because it was lying on the floor?
No, I stumbled on it because I was waiting for you guys to start the darn show because you were running late. So, actually, you guys were only late by a couple minutes, so actually give me time to get caught up. So this is a YouTube channel I've not seen before called Canadian Retro Things. And this is called Looking at My Tier City MC10 Part 1. So he kind of goes through, you know, a little bit of the history of it and what it's capable of. And he's got the 16K RAM expansion pack, not shown at this particular moment in time, and a cassette deck and the cassette cable. So he actually was able to load a couple of games. One of them he actually loaded was the version of Minefield that Ken Reichart did. So he actually, you know, plugged a Ken there. Now, one thing odd about this one, and I'm not going to play the whole video, you guys can watch it, and this is only part 1. He's planning to do more with it. He's got an MC10 that apparently has been modified, because when he powers it on and does a print mem, he's getting 8K. Now, the MC10 only came with 4K. And if he plugs in the RAM expansion pack, it only goes to 20. It doesn't go to 24. So there's some little weird things happening there. The other thing I noticed, and you guys that have MC10s on the panel that have the 16K RAM pack, tell me if this is true on yours or not. He's getting a lot of video corruption if he plugs the 16K RAM pack in and starts running stuff in graphics modes or even in text modes. He's getting a lot of like weird garbage on the screen and stuff. He's calling it interference. To me, it looks like the memory mapping for video is not working properly. And I do know the MC10 originally is hardwired that the original 4K you have is the only thing you can get video from. I think whoever modified the internals to get 8K off a start didn't extend that to the video modes. So that when he's trying to run like the Pacman game, I'll show that in just a little bit here, it gets really, really corrupted. Like it's almost impossible to read or play. Have any of you guys had any experience with that? Does the 16K RAM pack cause interference on the screen in any way?
Nope, not played it enough, evidently.
Crickets.
I don't have the original. I have the MCX 128. So.
Okay, but no, you haven't seen any corruption on that either, right?
No.
Okay, so I will show you a little bit of a demonstration of what I'm talking about here. So he's got some demos of some of the stuff, like, you know, Space Assault that got ported to it and stuff. And here he is when he's put the 16K RAM pack in, and he's got a print mem, he's getting the 20K basically. But you can see these little white or yellow squares on the screen there.
Yeah, right.
Means there's only
Like,
20K.
It keeps going,
which means
flashing
it's
around.
only
And when you get into a
actually reading the
graphics
first
mode,
4K of
like the Pac-Man game, which I'll see if I can find here in a sec. Well, first I'll show Ken's game. I don't know if you guys have seen this one. I don't know how long ago we released it.
Now, what percentage of machine language is this game?
This one from Ken,
and
0.
and basic.
0%?
100% basic and no machine language.
Oh, no. Okay.
And it's called Freeway. It's kind of a Frogger style game where you're trying to go up the screen and dodging things that are moving back and forth here.
points by game.
And that works fine. And right now he does not have the 16K expansion, so he's running as an 8K quote-unquote MC10. But when he tries the Pac-Man game, which normally would look really good, like here he's got the 16K expansion plugged in, and he's playing the the Minefield game, and you can see all the yellow crap coming out on the screen. And when you play the Pac-Man game, which actually is running, you know, high-res graphics, it gets far, far worse. So I can find that.
I played the Pac-Man game, and I don't get anything like that.
Like this is what he's getting there. I'm pretty
No.
sure whoever upgraded the 8K, it's not tying in the video RAM correctly, because that's not interference. It's not mapping the video RAM
That's
at all.
corruption. Yeah, yeah.
It's like the two
Oh,
RAMs
yeah,
are
right.
colliding with each other.
Yeah.
Maybe he's got a bad RAM
Far out.
pack.
And this happens when you plug the 16K in. Well, it could be that too, I guess. Or it's the fact that his has been modified to have 8K base machine. And the 16K RAM pack might be trying to address itself as if it's, you know, if you got 4K built in, here's the extra 16, you're up to 20. Maybe the 4K collision, because he's only getting 20K in basic if he has the 16K pack in. And because he has 8K, he should be getting 24K, not 20. So I'm wondering if the two 4K chunks are overlapping each other and just doing this.
Could be.
Does the
yeah.
MC10
Looks like something
behave
like
like the Sinclair, where if you plug in the address or the expansion pack, it shuts off the internal RAM?
No,
Or
it,
does
it
it add
adds
to?
to it. It
No,
adds
it
to it,
adds.
but your video RAM has to be in the first 4K on a stock MC10. I know some people modified it to, they put RAM expansions inside and tied the video to it, so your VDG can do a P mode 4 or P mode 3 properly.
Yeah, I bet you the two RAMs are colliding with each other then in that 4K block.
Certainly looks like it. I wonder what would happen if you run is there a RAM? I suppose there'd be a RAM test utility for the MC10. Wonder if you could run some kind of a test utility on it, see what it comes up with.
Yeah.
Getting more comments in chat. Yeah, people have not seen that happen with theirs, and Jim says he suspects it's a conflict.
Okay.
Every conflict.
At any rate, I just posted a message to him this morning to mention our show and that you should pop by and check it out. But also that we have some people that actually do know some of the MC10 hardware. So if he wants some help in trying to get that fixed up, he might have to remove the 8K, or maybe he just has to rewire something inside of there to get it to run properly. I know some people have put internal memory up to like 64K, and they're hacking it in and enabling the VDG to access it, so you can basically have the equivalent of a Coco 1 VDG wise. So I just thought it was interesting because I hadn't seen too many people upgrade an MC10 to 8K internally before. That was interesting.
I think if you removed the MC10, you would solve the problem.
It just leaves the RAM chips.
Could we have somebody check in on Jim and make sure he's okay, because he's being helpful in chat today?
Yeah, he might be gravely ill, brain tumor or something. I suspect.
Jim Brain maybe he might have the flu.
He might.
And here's one of those surprises from this morning from Simon Jonason. A little something I've been tinkering with for a while in the shadows. Let's see what may or may not become of it. Unfortunately, he was on earlier, but he said he had to go spend some time with the family, so he's not on to answer questions about it, but I will play it here.
You get the take my money meme down the bottom.
And Facebook's stupid, so it paused. Now, this reminds me of Ramey's demo that he did quite a while ago, doing kind of a Mario style. Now, he had it running at full speed, going across with animated tiles and stuff here, but this is an early one. But he's got some really nicely drawn graphics here.
That's really intricate.
Now it's not quite the same as the Hugo game, but it kind of reminded me of that. We haven't had an update from Hugo de Fort on his game in a while.
Yeah, that's true. And Ramey just did his a demonstration, and I think Dynasprite has a similar demonstration too, if I remember.
Yes, it does.
And the last one, and this one just came into Discord just as the show was starting. We've got our friend Ben Drakes, who's got that nice video VR system where you get goggles on and you get to walk on the platform and turn around and everything else in real life to play the game. And he's done Phantom Slayer before, which is another Ken Kalish game. Now, before Ken did Phantom Slayer, who's typing? If you're typing, please mute your mic.
My apologies. That was me. I was clicking Coco buttons. Sorry. I'll mute.
So earlier, before he released Phantom Slayer, he had the engine, the 3D engine that he uses in Phantom Slayer is basically what he used in Escape. And this is a game where you're trying to escape from a building. You've got elevators to deal with, which are not in Phantom Slayer, but you've also got the standard maze stuff. So Ben made a video with his VR system playing Escape on it. And you can see he's using some of the custom palettes on the Coco VGA too. I think he's using the same ones that Nick and I did for Phantom Slayer. I really hope, like said, he's got some of these VR things situated in the States, and occasionally he has to fly down to the States to demonstrate them for corporate. I would really like to get the chance to meet him at some point and have some of us Cocoers go meet him as well and actually try out the real VR with some of the old Coco games. That would be just wild. And Ben, if you're watching, feel free to drop in and just see, let us know how it was playing this game versus Phantom Slayer or some of the other ones you've tried. I don't know if too many of you people have seen Escape too. It's one of the rare titles from Ken. All right, that is the news for today.
Good job, man.
Very cool.
Any questions about?
Retro Innovation says it's his death wish to leave the Coco folks a small token of value, small being the operative word.
Mark, did you want to talk about any 6502 news?
Sure. It's my turn.
Sure. You have anything visual? Or you're just going to talk to us about some Apple and Commodore stuff that came out?
Yeah, I could probably do that. No Apple stuff, it's Commodore stuff. And yeah, we're not long on a break. I'll keep this short. Yeah, sure. Actually, I can share a window, I think. I don't know how to push the right buttons. Let's see here. Share. Wow, I've got so many screens to choose from. I'll take this one. Okay. So what this is an emulator for the Commodore 64 called Vice, and it is compiled for Linux because that's what I'm running at the moment. And what the application looking at is basically a Yahtzee game. And it's being developed by a guy by the name of Daniel England. He lives in Australia. And he posted a couple of weeks ago in the Commodore group on Facebook that he wants to do a networked Yahtzee game. And it's actually a platform to work on to other things. But anyway, it basically uses the function keys. You have a login area. It looks something like that. Basically, currently we're hosting the server. It's actually written in Delphi or Pascal. There's also a Windows client. There's actually an Android client also. And then the C64 client's written in assembly language. And so I had him do a command line version of the server that can be run under Linux. And I'm running it on my server called playclassics.net. So you can see there's a host name, and then you put in your username, and you connect. Anyway, the chat appears to be working. And the actual game looks something like this. There's a game called Test.
Hey, Mark, any way you increase your microphone volume? We've got some people in the chat, so they can't hear you.
Okay, any better?
A little bit better, yeah.
It was too loud for other things. I had it turned down. Anyway, so just started to join a game here, and press F7. And that's what the screen looks like when you're waiting for the other players to join. It's designed for 6 players per game. So I don't have anybody else playing right now. But anyway, it actually works. They actually play Yahtzee. So I've been trying it out, looking for more people. It's not a Coco project, but it could be. Anyway, a pretty simple exchanging information, messages with the server. So it'd be very possible to write a Coco client or clients for other things too.
And Curtis, I would think this would be probably easy to do over OS 9.
Oh, very.
Yeah, if it's just a straight serial port type stuff, yeah, it would be pretty
Yes.
simple to do.
Exactly, and it's not like speed based. You're mainly waiting for the other person to make their moves. So
Yeah, it's turn based, so it's perfect for that. It's like the old Star Trader games we used to have on some of the old time BBSs too.
Okay, I think we're getting a little background noise from a very special guest. You might have heard of him. His name's Steve Strobridge. Stevie, are you out there?
Hey, what's going on, Coco losers?
Definitely Stevie.
The show's gone downhill. We're talking about Commodores at this point.
Well, I thought it was going downhill because I just joined.
Well, that definitely aids it. That's true.
Hey, who let him in?
Yeah, right? I was listening to the news segment, and there's a lot of good stuff.
Well,
some of it was even true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No fake news.
Thank you, Stevie, for your work this week with the Coco VGA project.
Oh, yeah, it inspired me to start a project, which I got sidetracked on because of work.
Your video, Stevie, I was mentioned earlier in the show. That was perfect timing for me because I was just looking into the very same thing for my music software I'm writing for my Coco. So you've inspired me there as well with looking at you using the editor and changing text characters. That's exactly what I'm looking at doing.
Yeah, it's very handy. Yeah, I ended up staying up till about 2 a.m. designing fonts and graphics. Once I got started, I couldn't stop,
I can understand that.
Yeah, thanks for reviewing Sheldon's joysticks too.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. I enjoyed it.
It was really good hearing Morgan's enthusiasm on there too.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really impressed when I saw that demo at Coco Fest this year. And there's another one they did with, they had like this kind of like a Wiimote. It's like gyroscopic and you could move it around in the air. And it was updating a kaleidoscope on the Coco screen. So that was pretty cool too.
Okay. If I would encourage you to go on mute, Stevie. If you're, I think we have some background noise coming from you earlier. But please stay on the panel and chime in. Maybe you already did.
he's taking your advice and everything.
So the Coco VGA
Yes, sir.
is Coco 2 oleums, right? Because it's
Coco 1, 2, and Dragon and
Coco 1.
TDP.
Yes. So the
Yeah.
things that the Coco VGA are capable of with redefining your text characters, Matt, will the Gimme X also support that? So the same things can be done on the Coco 3?
I know
That's
it's
an interesting
capable hardware
question.
wise of doing it. I don't know if that's fully supported. I had asked Ed a while ago if you could say redefine the gimme character set as well.
Because it seems like we got a sort of a new direction kind of going with the Coco 1 and 2 with new possibilities of redefining the characters. So it's almost like it'd be nice if.
Well, it'd be really helpful for using the OS9 hardware font and being able to change that, right?
Well, just the Coco 3 hardware font in general. I mean, you could do a rogue game in BASIC if you can redefine the font.
It'd be really handy too, just to, for anyone who wants to write Coco 1, 2 with a Coco VGA, like software specifically for it, and then wants to run the same thing on Coco 3. Like I've got a Coco 3 here and I'm planning on getting a Gimme X for it. So if I can write my software to run on the Coco 1 and then run that same software unmodified on the Coco 3 with a Gimme X, that would be really nice.
There's no physical reason that the Gimme X cannot do that. And Ed had kind of hinted that he was talking about having even the Gimme character set as a redefinable. I don't know if that's actually what they've done or if they're allowing you to redefine the Coco 1 and 2 modes, though I do know, all the semi-graphics modes that are missing on the Coco 3 are on their Gimme X. So I guess Ed would be the best one to ask.
Just before we move on, Mark, did you get to finish your segment? I had to cut quickly to Stevie because there was a lot of noise coming from him. So, did we? Do you feel you got?
I didn't have anything more to contribute at this time.
Okay.
We're still basically alpha testing stuff. It doesn't crash most of the time. So, but yeah, and it plays pretty well. Actually, it's pretty quick, and I should start looking at the protocol and see if I can get somebody to help with making a Coco version of it. So.
Okay. And that, that's something I talked about with Dave Phillipson, the need to have color computers connected 100% of the time, to have internet connectivity. Chet Simpson brought up earlier, before we went live, just that we need to get, what is it, P-51 Mustang, Curtis, is the game?
Yeah, P-51 was the network game.
Yeah, we had several of them. We had a checkers game, an Othello game, a chess game that was all sold by the same company. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, that actually had head-to-head modem play. And we had P-51.
Two-player over modem, okay.
And then P-51, which also did the same. And then we had some AlphaSoft BBS had a Star Trader game that, if I'm trying to remember, I know it was turn-based and players could log in and take turns, but I think if you actually ran a multi-user, because he did have multi-user chat rooms and stuff, so if you had multiple phone lines, you could actually have everybody chat at once. I think his game even supported multiplayer simultaneously. I'd have to double check on that, but there's no reason you couldn't do it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm stuck in Mark's view too there, Nick.
Okay.
So
Zoom.
am I.
I stopped sharing.
Okay. Here, why don't we try?
I have no pin option for.
Yes, same here. Yeah.
Here, I switched to Curtis and then I switched back. Did it help?
Now I do.
It's working now. That's
okay.
Good.
That's inside baseball. It was probably working fine for everybody watching the stream.
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't we take? Hey, Nick Morentis, you out there? And we didn't say hello to John Laurie. Sorry about that, John.
Oh no, that's okay. I was here for a while, then I had to go, and then I came back. So that's probably why you missed me. But hi, everybody.
Hey, John.
Yeah, and I just came in actually when Curtis was going over the thing about the MC10 on that that Canadian retro channel, and I'm in agreement. I think the solution there would be to undo whatever hack was done to extend the memory on it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too.
It's causing more problems than it's worth.
And as far as the Gimme X is concerned, I want one yesterday.
That late? I wanted one way before that. So.
Yep.
Okay, so he'll sell one or two anyway.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Ed will at some point at least tell us, the full capabilities. Because I mean, I know he's mentioned the fact that he was thinking about doing the overwriting the Gimme's font.
Well, I certainly didn't mean to add to the wish list at this point in the game. I was just curious.
Well, he talked about it quite a while ago with me. It wasn't an official thing that was going to happen. He said, yes, it's definitely capable of doing that. And he's thought about it. I don't know how big the FPGA they're using and how much room they have on that. But I mean, you could have redefinable VDG fonts to be compatible to Coco VJ, and you could have redefinable fonts to Coco 3 to extend that. There's a whole bunch of possibilities of that thing. That thing could be just a monster.
I just know how much developers love user wish lists. So.
I have some experience with that with ease of use. Yeah.
Ken Riker just wanted to ask: will the memory hack affect the MC10's use holding doors open?
The internal one, I don't think will. The external one will allow you to hold a window wider open by about the width of the cartridge. So, it can potentially.
You love the MC10. Stop.
And just since we're going down, the MC10 rabbit hole, the MC10 cannot run OS 9 because the 6803 is basically a 6800. Is that correct?
For OS 9 itself, yes, but Microware, before they actually made OS 9 for the 689, back in '79, when the company was first formed at the university, it actually had, I think it was called RTOS, Real-Time Operating System, for the 6800. So if that got ported, you would have a multitasking OS for the MC10 with enough RAM.
Okay, yeah, that's another thing. Another thing that
was available also for the 6800.
The memory limitations on it are kind of holding it back.
Yeah. I know some people have hacked the actual MC10 to have 64K internally. It's not impossible. And they've even extended the video memory so you can actually do P mode 4 and you don't have to restrict it to the 4K RAM, but that's way beyond my technical expertise. I'd be soldering my hair by that point.
That's I didn't realize that there was limitations as to how the VDG was tied to memory.
Yeah.
Because the color computer, you can point the VDG anywhere.
Yeah, within your 64K space.
Right.
I'm sure it was to protect the Coco market share. Basically.
or Tandy just being cheap.
Or being cheap, yeah.
There might have been an extra chip they had to add or something, maybe another line soldered in.
You got to remember the whole point behind the MC10 was to, the $99 or $119 price point.
Yeah.
Every one of those nickels adds up.
Yeah, and if you go and pimp them all up, you might as well just go and buy a Coco one.
If it would have come out a couple years earlier, it probably would have been a success.
Yeah, but it came out when the ZX or ZX80 or 81 originally came out in 80 and 81. Yeah,
definitely.
All right. Well,
I think the problem with it was just by the time that it came out, the price of the color computer had come down so much. Because remember the original 4K color computer was like $500.
Yeah.
So $100, $120 MC10 would have been a neat option. But when the MC10 came out, the color computer was down to around $200 at that point. So it was just a few dollars extra to get a full-blown Coco.
Also, the ZX81 TS1000 had moved on to the 2068 or whatever, and the not Spectrum.
They're
with the button chiclet keys anyway. So it's like,
it was too little, too late is basically what happened there.
Yep.
All right. Well, there is hope for MC10 users. Someday they might be able to run OS 9.
Well, the MCX 128, I'm assuming is 128K. Is that right? Or?
I think so. I haven't got an MC10, so I can't tell you, but I know Zipster Zone has a pretty good description of it. It's got quite a few options built in. It's got extended basic, so it adds in a lot of the graphic drawing commands and stuff that are missing. Supports for the higher res modes that can fit in 4K.
You get a large basic with 40K.
I seem to recall watching a video once too, where somebody had a 3.5-inch drive working on an MC10.
Yeah, I've seen that video too. Somebody actually did add a floppy drive controller to it. So
I think that was Roger Pereira.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah,
Or
when I
any
saw
other-
that, I thought that was neat when I saw it, but it doesn't look like it ever really went anywhere.
And the MCX has ROM support built into it because it has an extended basic ROM and an extra ROM on it that supports its own DriveWire style protocol too. So you can actually host your files on a PC and load them on the MC10.
Well, somewhere out there in the internets, I can hear Steve Bjork's head exploding with all this MC10 talk. So why don't we? Hey, Nick Marentes, you out there? Nick?
Yep.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we run the outro, come back with final thoughts, and I was thinking you might give us a preview of some of the work you've been doing on Gunstar that we might see in an upcoming video from you. Would that be okay?
Preview.
Like just give us a few bullet points about what you've been working on. Is that
all right? Yeah, we'll wing it. Yep. No
all right.
worries.
So let's take.
Gunstar, wing it.
Sounds really excited. You sound as excited as David Ladd. We'll be right back. We're after this outro and then some final thoughts from the panel.
Crikey.
This concludes another episode of CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy color computer. For all things CoCoTALK, visit us on the web at CoCoTALK.live. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to CoCoTALK at CoCoTALK.live.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, 'cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
Consider supporting the show with a purchase of merchandise from our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. If you'd like to become a patron of the show, click the Patreon link at our website at CoCoTALK.live.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, 'cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
CoCoTALK would not exist without the community, its cast, crew, and contributors. Thanks go to Curtis Boyle, David Ladd, Mark Overholzer, Grant Leedy, Bruce Moore, Nick Marentes, Ron Delvaux, Rick Adams, Jason Reichert, Richard Lorbieski, Jim Brain, Tom C., Rob Inman, Mark Bosley, Brian Joyce, Ken Reichert, David O'Connor, Brian Weasler, Terry Steggy, Nick Marotta, John Strong, and many more, especially to Steve Bjork for production suggestions and James Diffendaffer for making my head explode. Please help support the Coco community by visiting some of its various contributors. A list of resources is available at imacoconut.com. That's imacoconut.com. The CoCoTALK theme song is copyright 2008 by D. Bruce Moore and Greg Sheeler. Mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore.
Changes every so often anyway as new people get added.
And
Yeah,
we're
I
back.
would just have to manually update it.
And to answer your question, Stevie, I don't think anyone could hear the terribly offensive comments that you were saying during the commercial break. So, but I am offended.
Yes. This is the snowflake edition of CoCoTALK.
I am triggered beyond.
And Retro Innovation says, finally, the good part of the show. The end.
It's also one of the longest.
Well, I'm being very selfish here because I am a big I'm a big fan of Nick Marentes and his upcoming game Gunstar, and I'd really like to hear kind of what you've been working on, Nick, and give us a taste. Give the people a taste of what you're working on so we can have something to look forward to for next week.
All right. Okay. Well, I've been working busily in the background here, and it's been progressing quite well. I haven't done any blogs to explain it all because I'm at a point of the game whereby I'm trying to keep it as a bit more of a surprise for people playing it, so they can discover the game for themselves. But basically, all 4 levels of Gunstar are in. The game over sequence is in, and I'm basically tying up all the loose ends. Just this morning, I added an option in the game, for example, to choose difficulty levels. Now,
Yes.
one of the
I'm sorry. That was a reflex action.
One of the things I noticed in Popstar Pilot, my previous game, was that I was surprised by how many people couldn't get past level 1. I couldn't understand. I could do that almost blindfolded. So clearly, I have to try and make the game cater for a wider game playing skill set. Everything from the top player right down to the loser. So
it's called loser level. I don't care. I will gladly play loser level.
You'll be happy with the changes I did. Gunstar has an option at the very start of the game to choose between 2 game modes, and they are called Wimp mode and Hero mode. So
okay, that's not passive aggressive. That's aggressive.
Just for you, Nick and Steve.
But I don't care.
You choose the
Wimp
mode, and in Wimp mode, it just sets a few parameters in the game to be a little bit easier, like less firing from the aliens, and basically make a few things easier to play. But as a so that not everyone just plays Wimp mode just to get through the game. One restriction is that if you play Wimp mode, you do not enter your name in the high score.
That's not.
Well,
you still see all the bosses and everything.
Well, you still get to see the levels, and it's it's a bit of an easier game. But yeah, if you want to be able to get onto the high score, you have to play the hero mode.
Does it say you don't deserve to record your name, loser?
So yeah, basically it's a whole lot of little tying up to complete the game now. So it is very close. And
how much will this abuse cost us?
This would be.
You are really. What are you? He really is on fire today.
So yeah, the game is getting close to completion. I will be starting then a pretty detailed game testing regime to test it all, just to get the game flowing correctly, and the level to be at the right difficulty level to suit everything from professional to loser.
So your beta testers will involve both camps and people that are.
They will, yes, that's right. So hurry up and get that 6309, Nicholas.
Yeah.
How about a suicide
I
mode?
may have to play it in emulator for a while.
Suicide. That could easily be done, but yeah, that is pretty suicidal.
I may have to go emulator for at least a little while.
Yeah, but yeah, it's coming along. You can actually play a whole game now, but yeah, it's just the final touches still to go in, and little cosmetic changes here and there, So
hey Nick, do you have any like children around your place that can actually sit down and try it, or is this more adult oriented? Do you think?
Well, the thing is, the children usually play it really well, but
yeah, they can do the expert level. I assume that's what Ron was asking.
Yeah, so I'm going to do this Wimp mode as well.
You have to have a kids mode on it too, one that's above expert level that only anyone less than 15 years old can complete.
Yeah, so hopefully this will cater for a wider audience. But yeah, that's about all I've got going at the moment.
Powered by Vegemite.
Yeah, well, we probably could stick a Vegemite jar in space there and blow it up, I suppose.
Be a black hole and at the end.
Yeah, that's it. That's the black hole.
Each physical CD comes with a jar of Vegemite.
Hey, the first.
Well, I was going to order the game until you said that. Now I don't want any more.
Just send your tin of Vegemite to me, jar of Vegemite to me. I'll have it.
So instead
if you
of
don't like
cup,
the game, then you might like the Vegemite.
So instead of a cup, the first winner of the game would get a can of that.
Well, that's right. Yeah, that's even better than the cup of douchebaggery, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
And if you went into expert mode, then they also send you a free stomach pump to go along with the good jar of Vegemite. So that's pretty good.
How much does a Vegemite cost?
Yeah, $4-5 Australian.
Yeah, it depends on the jar
It
size.
depends on the size. Yeah.
How's it compared to spam?
Oh.
Spam. About the same price.
Oh.
Meat. Yeah. And this would be dressing for the meat.
Meat like product.
Vegemite.
No.
Oh, Vegemite is yeah. I'll take Vegemite any day over spam.
So people don't cook spam or put it on bread.
No, they just clear it. They just clear it out of their inbox.
So, did I answer all
Oh,
your
that was-
questions, Robert?
That was a good update. You gave a lot of good information.
Nick, are you still planning on releasing your map editor and stuff too, or Tyler? You're talking about maybe releasing it as a separate thing.
No.
No.
Yeah.
But you would sell it.
No, I don't think it's really necessary. Yeah. Otherwise, you get a whole lot of bastardizations of the game. So.
Yeah.
And Big West Purdue in the chat says, I remember how badly I wanted to get the 512K RAM upgrade back in the day. As a young computer user of the humble proletarian background, I'll have to look that word up, it was 128K for me. So I think he's saying he couldn't afford the 512K back in the day, and I don't think most of us could. I did eventually get, eventually did get that. And then found pretty quickly I had to have a fan pointed at my computer 100% of the time. But
I didn't have that problem in my 12, and I got it pretty early on. Actually, I got a disto one, and it ran fine for years.
Yeah, I had the Tandy model.
What was the guy from the Great White North? What was the multi-pack interface fix needed to do? I remember having to send my MPI away too. Was that for the gimming?
Sorry, what was that? You were cutting out of there a bit, Nick.
I had to send my official MPI away to get fixed too for the Radio Shack. Was that because of the gimming?
Yeah, there's some places where it would start ghosting over. Kevin Darling had a really good explanation, but actually it could cause some hardware problems. It also caused some conflicts between stuff in different slots, and some hardware that wasn't fully decoded would ghost over into some of the new gimme registers, and it could cause problems. So it was recommended to get it fixed. It didn't cause problems for most people. It depended on what hardware mixture of cards you had, but some things it actually did start screwing up.
I used it for pretty much 30 years without upgrading.
Yeah, it depended how decoded your hardware cards that you had in your multipack were. Game cartridges that had no problems with at all. That you didn't need the upgrade for that, but some of the hardware cards you did.
But I think the upgrade was only for the original style multi-pack. The new square or the newer square one was already fixed.
No, even the smaller one also had to have a fix as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the PAL upgrade. The PAL chip had to be upgraded.
Okay, well, we had a nice 2.5 hours. Pretty well paced. There's a couple of audio issues that I apologize for, but action-packed, news-packed show. The one thing we didn't get to, Curtis, is the update on Oregon Trail. I don't know if we want to save that for next week.
Paul's not on here anyway.
Paul's
so
not
too
on,
much.
so-
I mean, I did cover it in the news somewhat. I covered. We showed the video.
Get him on here.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe next week we'll go over any updates. I think, yeah, we did talk about the article on the internet, vintage is the new old, and yeah, you did.
Plus, we played the video that he'd put of playing it so far as he'd gotten at the point he did the video, but we'd really like to get him on to talk about where he's taking it.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I think
when it's done, etc.
I think I slept through that part of the news, so I guess we covered it. Well, any other last words from the panel, or I think we could what I'd like to do is play Coco Thoughts again, and then hit the button. I think it's a good way to end the show since it's kind of a interesting Coco Thoughts this week. So, any other thoughts before we do that?
I cringe every time you guys mispronounce Oregon or Eagle.
How do we, Oregon?
Oregon.
Oregano?
Oregano. Or oregano if you're in.
Mark's gonna have a heart attack here.
We're just watching Mark's head explode at this point.
Sorry, I was born here and I live here.
All right. Can we just call it Portlandia?
Yeah.
Do you think that makes you an expert on it, or no? I'm just kidding.
Also, is it Nevada or Nevada?
I've always been told Nevada. Nevada.
Chet can answer that one.
Wasn't it named after a president? O'Regan.
O'Regan.
Sorry.
Reagan.
Oh, Reagan. All right. Well,
So,
I think
Chet, what's the official pronunciation of Nevada?
Yeah, you're not dragging me into that discussion.
that's a controversy that Chet's not going to go into.
I'll just call it Casinoville. That's what I'll call it.
I was born here. I call it whatever I want.
Arizona's dry heat.
That's right.
So actually, Big West Purdue had a question I'd like an answer to. Is there was a guy on YouTube that was putting a PC into a Coco shell?
Yep.
Did you come up with a part 2 on that, or how far did you get?
I haven't seen anything yet, so I'm not sure how far he's gotten on that, or if he does a lot of others, that type of rebuilding videos too for other platforms as well. So he might be jumping between them before he gets back to the Coco. I'm not sure.
David's working on that.
Not quite. I'm putting a Coco into a Model 4.
Oh.
So, yeah, similar, transplanting computers, but this is all completely retro. One last thing I would like to say before we do push the button too, if John Strong is listening, I know I'm sort of nagging, but if you do happen to have an update, John, about the Coco Play command from the Mega Mini MPI from the OPL3 chip, I have the new hardware for my for the converter from Coco Sound 2, my modular synthesizers here. So I'm hoping to get some work on that and have an update for next show.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll hear from John Strong next week. Just want to thank some of the people in the chat before we go. Big West Purdue with some more comments. I think he's talking about putting a modern PC into a Coco shell. I'm not sure about that, Big West, but I know it's been done the other way around. Ken Riker would like us to remind us that Samuel Gimes is a hack. That's pretty rude.
That is rude.
Al Hartman from Jersey has been in the chat. He says spam's very popular in Hawaii and Philippines. That's very true. I actually enjoy some of my spam treats that I have when I've been in Honolulu. We know we can rename Oregon Trail, and then it could be about zombies. Thank you, Big West, for that comment.
Good alternative there, yeah.
Good alternative. I can pronounce Oregon. Marmite, a lot of fans of Marmite in the chat, as well as Vegemite. Tim Franklin was here. He says, just don't forget to flush when he's talking about spam. I think that's a pretty rude comment about spam and digestion.
Is that after eating it or instead of eating?
I think he just wants you to flush it immediately. Don't even
I
eat
get
it.
tired of it after the third can.
Wait a minute. That's a double entendre.
Retro Innovations was in the chat. Mark D. Overholzer. Ken Reichert. Ken make it? We didn't learn today. We don't know, but we know he can chat. Let's see. Fred Dufass posting links, and Carl Doherty. I hope I'm saying that right, Carl. Thank you for joining. Matchy was in the chat. And Nick Maroda. Simon Jonason was here.
One more.
You know, I like hearing my name.
One more.
I think Nick
Go on,
Maroda was
I'm an
here.
egotistical guy who likes hearing his name.
Hey, after a few minutes here, we're going to have to play the end credits again.
Yes. End credits. Retro Innovation says he was being so helpful because it's his death wish that he leaves the Coco folks some value, some small token of value, small being the operative word. And we certainly hope that that's not true. We need Jim Brain's future innovations, whatever those are. Stevie Strobridge was here. Mark B.
Hello.
Peter Willard.
Stevie has an MC10 picture on his.
That's
MC10.
right. Yep. That's right. Thank you to everybody. I won't read everybody else in the chat, but Mandaleo420, thank you for being in the chat. Any last words, Stevie? We're gonna go to Coco Thoughts and then hit the button. Stevie Strobridge.
Press the button, Frank.
All right. Now I'm gonna try to lower the. We're gonna go to Coco Thoughts, and I'm gonna drop the volume on there, so it should sound normal. Here we go.
And now, Coco Thoughts by Samuel Gimes. Many people think 13 is an unlucky number, but I'm not superstitious.